started. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm moving it.
Sliding. Look at that. Look at us playing musical chairs at the HDC. Okay, guys, we're actually started. Fiona, we know we're a little rusty. It's 4:03 on December 2nd. Believe it or not, folks, 2026 is tomorrow, pretty much, all relatively speaking. This meeting is being audio video recorded. Anything you say or share will be shown on the town's website. Please act accordingly. I forgot to welcome back our watchers and listeners out there and at home with the popcorn. We're glad to be back. And what else? HCC accepts comments from the public at hccpubliccomment@nantucket-ma.gov. And comments are due by 8 a.m. the Monday prior to the meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, let's see, we'll do, who do we have online?
I'm here.
Hey, Carrie, hi, Joe.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We'll do the members here seated. So just for the minutes maker, that's Abby, Angus, myself, Ray, and Connie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Okay, let's see, consents, same board, as a motion.
Motion to approve consents.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Commissioner Q&A with Preservation Planner. Hi, Holly.
Hi,
How we doing?
good, thanks.
Good. We're getting there. Do
Sorry.
we have questions for Holly? Anyone? Nope. Any CLG news?
Not at the moment.
Quiet on the CLG front too,
For
after the
right
holiday.
now, we'll be getting there shortly.
Okay.
I did want to, as far as for tonight's, I just wanted to emphasize two things.
Please.
One, because this is old business, I tried to indicate old business and the number of times it's before you all, and it's on the notes, so you'll have it right there. There's a few that's been multiple times. But I also want to mention too, that we have a couple of historic structures on here that I have recommended historic determinations on. So that's something you might want to consider with these changes, dealing with the codes and all that kind of stuff, so.
So if I may expand on that, it relates to, for instance, a like-kind application? So someone comes in and they want to do some work, but it would trigger the stretch energy code, so you're requesting or asking them to submit a historic determination?
For that, but also these projects that you have before you that are altering the structures where they're gonna have to continue with TDLs, not normally, retaining those character defining features. If there's any way that their additions may want to, again, something that I'm recommending.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand. Is this something that we're recommending in order to facilitate work that they're requesting, or we're doing it in order to arrest work that they may request?
No, to be associated with the work that they're asking for.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Just so I understood.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's very helpful. Appreciate it. Okay, with that said, my understanding is 6 Fargo Way is being rescheduled to when?
Mr. Chair, the next old business meeting, which is December 16th.
Okay, so 6 Fargo will go to December 16th. We are then on to 5 Orange Street, and we will use member sitting. Carrie, are you going to present?
It's Luke. I'm going to present.
Oh, hey, Luke. Good evening.
Hi.
You going to steer, or you're going to have us steer?
I'll start. Thank you. If I could bring everyone to the site plan, I'll just make a couple of comments there. What we're trying to do here is show more accurately, and the arborvitae has always been along the Orange Street property line, and my client is going to basically infill where I'm showing the new arborvitae and most likely replace the current arborvitae that's there. And this stretch of arborvitae, again, it's been a historic record. There are old photographs of it, and as you would know, it's a significant buffer both for privacy for the homeowner to Orange Street, and as well as buffering any visuals that are moving back towards what we're proposing in the rear. So therefore, we think that the arborvitae contributes to our project. I'll just read, since it's been a while, I'll read this little letter that the owner and I produced together, just to be straightforward and clear. Thank you for considering our proposals. Please see the proposed drawings that reflect revisions as requested. The site plan shows the expansion of the existing historic arborvitae hedge along the eastern and southern property lines. We feel this restores the property edge as it has been for many years and provides significant privacy to the garden and reduces visibility of the sunroom. We have addressed comments. We have formalized the sunroom's fenestration appearance by adding panels along the bottom of the doors and aligned deck posts above. We are removing one existing skylight on the lower roof. We propose five skylights. One, the upper low pitch roof, as this provides minimum daylight to a very large third floor, and hope you'll find this acceptable due to its extremely low visibility. We feel skylights are a better solution than third floor gable dormers. And you can see from the photos taken from Fair Street that the visibility is extremely limited and is only as seen past between two windows, visible windows between the homes. The skylights will have a cedar wrap with 3 divided lights to simulate the historic look. And this is basically, might also note that there is a green giant arborvitae which is growing about 1.5 feet a year, which is on its way up as well, which down the road will end up screening those skylights. Now, I'll just take you to the, if I could take you to the south elevation. Page A2.4. There you can see on the far left we have the existing sun patio, and just as background, since it's been a while, those we feel like that was likely added. Holly could zoom in on this for me more specifically, but we're thinking this was added probably in the 50s or 60s, something like that. Currently there's this large panels that cover the entirety of that big picture window and the side lights. So what we thought we understood from you all in the last meeting was to make this a little more formal than I had previously proposed. So we're adding panels. We're giving it more of a paneled look at its base, and trying to give it a little more structure to even up towards the deck level, to sort of signify maybe a little more formality and alignment with the posts and the separation of doors below. These are proposed to be nano wooden doors all the way around. Again, the owner would really like to have it really feel like a nice sunroom to the garden. Then if you go to the back, A2.3, we have a door set which cannot be seen from anywhere at all. And then we're proposing above it, obviously, a second floor deck, which again, it's nestled inside the architecture, we feel, and so therefore it's very much in keeping. in that it's not projecting out. It's really kind of nestled within the existing and oldest fabric, oldest part of the building. So we're proposing one door up above, and the existing window that's there, we're proposing to shift over. You can see on this elevation too, we're removing one of the large skylights that's existing, and the proposed smaller ones are up above. In 2D, they appear but fairly visible, but by nature of the perspective that you would be standing in Fair Street and looking at them, and the low pitch of the upper roof, there would be actually of lesser impact than the two-dimensional drawing shows. We have also moved the scuttle over in this latest iteration too. There's no change at all on the front of the building, and but if you go to A2.2.
Luke, that's the start to wrap it up signal.
Oh, well, if you go to A2.2, we're just restoring what was originally there, putting back what was there. But we are proposing to keep the roof we had proposed. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions for Luke? No? Okay, let's see. Mickey, you guys got anything on this?
Yes, we do. Thanks, Stephen. So this is Mickey Rowland. I'm representing the Historic Structures Advisory Group, and that is myself, Jason Finger, Mary Bergman, and Marcia Fader. So we feel that the second floor deck is not appropriate. We feel that it will be visible from Orange Street. And I know that Luke is suggesting they're going to provide more arborvitae hedging. I mean, for one, I question how appropriate arborvitae hedging of this density and height is whether that's appropriate downtown or not. But nevertheless, we don't know how long that's going to remain and how effective it's going to be until it gets to the proper height. This is probably currently visible from looking back down Orange Street towards from next to the Unitarian Church. So we think it's going to be visible now and for a little while. Regarding the French doors, really the arch styling probably should remain. It's been there for who knows how long. And the skylights are certainly visible from Fair Street, and just, multiple skylights on a roof plane are not appropriate according to building with Nantucket in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Mickey. And Luke, just to clarify your board, it's myself, Abby, Joe, Angus, and Connie. Concerns? I'd like to just remind everyone that this is time we won't get back. Let's use it wisely on behalf of the people, succinct and non-repetitive. Who'd like to begin?
I can.
Connie?
Two concerns, the number of skylights and the second floor deck. Those are my major concerns.
Wow, you are setting a really nice bar too with the method of communication. That is awesome. Thank you. Ray?
I'm not on it.
Oh, you're not on it. I'm sorry. Angus?
Yes, definitely the deck and the number of skylights, and the configuration of the windows to be more historic in the sunroom area.
Okay, and just before we move forward, concerns by both persons, I'm going to go sequentially. Connie, its presence period, or its size, or?
The second floor deck's present and the number of skylights.
Okay,
There's-
just wanted to
yeah,
make
there's
sure I was
too,
clear.
too many.
Okay, and Angus, yours is simply its presence or its size?
Presence,
Okay.
and the same with the skylight, more than one.
Okay. Let's see, Abby?
Yeah, I agree with my other board members. Do we have a drawing showing, looking from Orange Street back to Mickey's point about seeing the deck from Orange Street?
Well, it was skylight. I believe it was his comment. It was skylights.
No, I think he said we could see the sunroom and the deck from Orange Street.
I didn't catch that. Okay, do we, Luke, do you have a picture from Orange Street that might show whether that's visible or not?
I think without the, if you're not considering the buffer, it is visible.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, if you're not considering the fact that that we're proposing an arborvitae buffer, then I would say that it's visible. It's visible today. I mean, you know,
Okay.
it's pretty discreet in that it's far back and it's still tucked in. But to answer the question, it would be visible.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, Abby?
And those arborvitae exist right now, correct?
No,
No.
There's a
There's, okay,
no,
part of the
it's a
landscape.
proposed screen.
Okay, all right, I have nothing else to add.
Okay, so that leaves Joe.
Yes, I agree with the comments, or I think the comments are appropriate regarding the fenestration on the sunroom. Working with the existing fenestration rhythm, which appears to have the implication of 4 columns on the west elevation. I think that would be a move in the right direction. The second floor deck, you do see these all over this street in particular, these flat roof decks, often visible obliquely or from down below on Union Street looking back up. So I don't think it's inherently inappropriate. That said, given the existing roof on this little element is a shed roof, I do think an integrated deck approach might be the way to go, which would diminish it slightly, and it would certainly hide it from the most visible side of the building. And regarding the skylights, it's definitely the quantity exceeds what we would typically have. I question their visibility and certainly the amount. It seems to be quite a bit on that one elevation. So I'd like to see a reduction in that. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I agree with what's been said. I'll split it on the second floor exterior deck. I think Joe's idea of integrated into the into a shed roof form is more appropriate. And I think where I'm struggling to give Luke clear for us to give Luke clear direction is the number of skylights on the rear roof. I am fine with 2.
One per plane, or what?
Yeah, I'm fine with 2 in the back, given its location. That's just me. So what, Abby, how many skylights?
Well, so, one per plane, one for one mast and one for the other? 2 in the back, but,
Need the elevation.
yeah,
Yeah, go back to,
Mine's not
I was actually talking about
The west.
the main roof that's, because you're gonna see the other plane is gonna be oblique from the back shape. Look, can we tell this, please? You know,
It has one.
which elevation is that?
West.
West? So that upper gambrel leg, 2 is fine for me there.
Excuse me.
It's just my perspective, but I want to get an idea of what we're telling him. So we're saying we're concerned about the number of skylights, but that doesn't really give him clear direction. So Angus,
Sure, so, I mean, the guidelines are pretty clear about
how
one,
many would you think are appropriate?
1 and in the upper third.
Okay, Abby,
I'm one per plane.
thank you. Connie?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
There is one there presently on the lower roof plane, right? But that's going to disappear. Is that, okay, so, 2 max.
2 max. Okay, so Joe?
Yeah, I think the 5 certainly gives me pause, and I think at 3 I would feel like we've maxed out.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I'm deviating from the one per roof plane is that we're talking about a tall gambrel, and these are on the shallowest pitch. And then there are flanking chimneys on the lower portion of the roof that seem like they'd obscure the view. So, and there's a large roof walk across this thing that I think kind of anchors these a little bit. So it's definitely a unique situation. So 2 to 3 is where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, and obviously Connie and my determination is circumstantial as well, and I appreciate Joe articulating that so succinctly. So Luke, you've got some sense of whether the second floor deck would fly as modified, and a pretty clear sense of the skylights. I think we're going to hold for a revision and some revisions, and hopefully put this to bed at the next meeting.
Can I ask
The
just one
next time we
question?
hear it. Pardon me?
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Is everyone okay with the doors I have on the sunroom?
Well, nobody mentioned them, so I wouldn't have brought them up
The what?
The doors.
Is everybody okay with the what?
with the doors.
Yeah.
The sunroom that he
Oh.
proposed.
Yes.
Well, that was part of what I was talking about. There was an arch before that was in the middle. So that was sort of the pattern that I was commenting on about the shape of the fenestration in the porch.
Me too.
So put an arch in there,
Okay,
okay, Lou?
I'll see what I can do.
Okay, we appreciate it. Okay, can we get a motion to hold for revisions?
So moved.
Abby,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Connie?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Now we're gonna move on to 10 Candle House Lane, as-built color change.
Mr. Chair, I don't
Melissa's not with us.
in here. Oh, you are?
Oh,
Oh, come on
hello,
down.
Melissa, come on down.
Come on down to the mic.
Come on
and
down to the
Introduce
mic.
yourself, and just so you know that the as-built fee wasn't paid.
Good evening. Welcome to the HDC.
Yes.
John.
Just state your name for the record
Melissa Drewley.
when I move a little closer.
Melissa Drewley.
Okay. Where did we leave this? I think we were looking for color swatch samples.
Yes, a color, which she did submit, and, yeah, color swatch samples.
One
Fiona
quick
has
question,
them over
there's no reconsideration to the.
Guys,
color.
hold on a second. I want to not have crosstalk. We need to figure out where our color
Fiona
swatches
should
are.
have them over there somewhere.
Fiona? Do you have them physically? Okay, can we see those, please?
I haven't visited. In the-
The more the merrier. Feel free. Didn't we used to have this painted on the house? Can you just go look at stuff?
All the same, Quaker gray.
I think that would have,
Actually, a fabulous idea.
I think that would have been appropriate.
We did that on Cedar
that's
Street.
correct.
that old Victorian.
The one, well, I'll take it. Give one to Connie.
Thank you.
I'll establish your board. Okay, so your board, it's myself, Abby, Angus, Val is not here. Carrie will sit on this one, and Connie is also active. Okay, Melissa, why don't you just briefly tell us the color you want, and we'll have some discussion and try and resolve this.
I circled white and cobblestone, although I can't see it on the screen, but I think so, or
Quaker.
Quaker gray.
Yeah,
Quaker gray.
And that's for which
The-
element?
clapboard.
It's for the
Clapboard?
front of our house,
For the clapboard?
yeah.
And you had painted it Nantucket blue?
It was Nantucket blue in the historic, and it looked teal to us, so then we went with another color, that's what wasn't approved.
Okay, so Quaker gray clapboard with white trim. Let's see, does anyone have any questions for Melissa?
I do.
Angus?
So the front door appears in the simulation on page 8 of the application that it's Quaker gray as well.
The door is white. I don't,
Okay, so the intention is to everything's white except for the Quaker gray clapboard.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other questions? Mickey, did you guys have anything on this?
We're good with the Quaker gray.
Okay, does anyone have any concerns?
I can make a motion if you want.
Yeah, and I think since it's being rectified, that I would say we waive the as-built. But it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I don't care.
What's your motion?
My motion is to approve with Quaker gray for the clapboard and the white for the trim and the door. And I'm okay with not paying the fine, so that's my motion.
It's not an insignificant cost to retain, so. Okay, great. So on the motion, Abby,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Connie,
Hi.
Carrie,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So that carries unanimously. Melissa, thanks for coming in on this rainy, miserable night.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
33 Cliff Road. Mirka, good evening. Your board, myself, Abby, Bill, not here, Angus, Joe, and it will be, Carrie on this one. Okay, if you could walk us through,
I just want to understand, I have just 3 people on my board today?
no, you have a full.
Oh, do I have a, because I think it was just 4, right? I think I was one short.
According to our magic agenda, the list is myself, Abby, Angus, Joe, and you had two alternates. One was Connie and one was Carrie. And since Connie's been sitting, I'm gonna give Carrie.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you, I just want to confirm.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so I apologize, this was in front of you like a month or so ago, we just kind of didn't refile it earlier. So as you can remember, we go right to the plan. This was just idea. If you don't mind, if you want to go to the plan first. We highlighted this was the application for the stone post at the entry of the main driveway on the property at 33 Cliff. I give you some proportion how, what these pillars would look like. And if we can zoom into the site plan, unfortunately, then you will see the changes. You might have to zoom out a little bit. I think the plan is bigger. Yeah, perfect. As you can see what I did, if you are able to show the driveway as well. Thank you. The driveway.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you remind us, I think our principal concern were the stone posts, correct?
Exactly. And you asked me to do a little bit of research, and you said you will go take a look and give you some dimension of the one which I took from this concept as an inspiration.
And we were also, weren't we looking for some type of precedent?
Yeah,
type
some
code
kind
in the
of,
area?
yeah, precedents or so
Okay,
on
just,
the.
I wanted to get us all on the same page.
Absolutely,
So I
thank
missed
you.
some.
On my initial proposal, I had these 2 front posts right at the corners, so I just want to show you, I slide them in a back so they would not be as visible. And also we have a 2 set of posts at the entry. So as we did a little bit of the research, on the next page, we did find some example, but not a lot, and they were all over the Nantucket. So again, I don't want to say it was on Cliff, because it wasn't, but we did find some in Sconset. You did ask me for the proportion of the one which I took as an inspiration. They are a little bit bigger, 3x3 bases by 5 feet. I'm trying to reduce them to more 2x2 by 5. There are some similar example on a Cliff Road of the cobblestone walls. They're like of the, I believe so, the Delany Road, so there's something there. Again, and on the Cliff Road itself, we did see more presence of the stone post. Again, this is such a subtle, like a design element we would like to introduce for this property. Intentionally, I set them in a back, so they would be a little bit screened with the privet, but it still would allow for the framing of the property, of the driveway entry. It is the formal part of the cliff, so I thought it could be considered as a nice little touch. But again, I am here for your well-educated opinion and recommendation. Who am I, right?
Without further delay, we'll hop in on it. Thank you. I appreciate that presentation. Any questions for Mirka? Okay, Mickey, you guys got anything on this other than you don't think they're appropriate?
Well, basically, that's it. There's no real precedent in this area for those posts. Wooden posts, narrower wooden posts would be much more appropriate. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, your board again is myself, Abby, Angus, Joe, and Carrie. Concerns, folks? Why don't we go with Carrie?
I agree with Mickey. I think wood is way more appropriate here. I also think they should be out of the setback. I think they're just inside the setback line or just outside the setback lines. And I just think they should be inside since they're proposed to be 5 feet tall. But that's it. Wood for sure. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, Joe.
Well, I definitely agree that the precedents are not related to this neighborhood and that the painted posts are more common. But for me, this kind of falls into the category of variety is the spice of life. And there's certainly examples of these around here. And the convincing part of the presentation to me is the front elevation. And this is a very classic gambrel with an interesting entryway. And there was even, I remember, some discussion about the bench design. So that structure, I know I forget if it's absolutely new or if it was just a renovation to it, but these feel in scale relative to that structure. And even though the precedents are from Sconset, I can see it in this context. That said, I wouldn't want to see them on every house on Cliff Road, but I don't know. It's an accent element that I don't think is inappropriate in this particular case. So I'm okay with them. I also appreciate them without the caps, and I also appreciate them moving off the street. So that's my position. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Abby?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Joe on this. It's a fine shingle style design, although a little over the top. I think if the stone posts could be scaled down, and especially the lights, I think the lights are way out of scale. I wouldn't be opposed to stone columns.
Okay, Angus?
So there isn't precedent on Cliff Road, and I think that's one of the desirable and unique things about Nantucket is that each neighborhood, each block, each street has its own character, and the examples are drawn from Sconset on the cliff and on Main Street in Sconset. And Delaney's a side street off Cliff Road, and it's not a post, it's a wall. So I don't really feel like there's precedent for it. I do see Joe's point. This is maybe a unique design on Cliff Road that's already approved and being built. And the posts are in scale with that. But yeah, I think I would have to recommend going with wood and something that's more in keeping with the rest of Cliff Road. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Angus, Carrie.
We got everybody but me. I think the accent piece internally is fine, but immediately adjacent to the street is inappropriate. So that's just to say, I believe you have two sets of posts. The ones closer to the home are smaller, and I think that's okay. And I think then you can carry that stone material up to the front in some other form. I don't know if it's a little accent on the raised, if the privet is raised bed and it's just a tiny little retaining wall. you know, where the privet ends, or if it's some other element, but I'm concerned about having stone posts lining Cliff Road. I just don't think it's appropriate.
Even like setback 10 feet, and we could even take rid of the lights?
I
if
think
that's-
I think those front ones are just too much.
Okay.
The front being immediately adjacent to the street. The set that's within the yard space, further back on the far side of the driveway, closer to the home, I don't have a concern about.
So just to understand then, can we keep the rear set stone with a nice white gate as presented, or, and then just approve the front as a wooden post?
That remains to be seen, but hold on one moment. What do we have?
Mickey Rowland has his hand up.
Mickey?
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed something on the site plan that I didn't see before. And it looks like she's showing the apron is cobblestone, interrupting brick sidewalk, which feels like that should be brick and not cobblestone. Thank you.
I just want to remind, that was a recommendation of this board. I came in front of the board with a different material, and that was approved as a cobble requested by this board.
Okay. So you're not changing that?
You asked me to change to cobble when I apply for the apron in the first place. And I had it, I believe so, I had the antique granite. So I got it approval with the cobble
At the apron?
at the apron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's not stone posts there, there's not going to be a material conflict in terms of textural or color.
At this point, like I love the cobble apron, it's been approved. If the really is the consideration of, I thought those stone posts can really.
No, we're not gonna, I just want to be clear, Mickey is here and he's a wonderful resource, but he's a member of the public.
Yeah.
It was not brought up. I really do not want to start generating discussion after the fact based upon those types of comments.
Okay.
The material concerns expressed by the membership relate to the stone posts. I believe primarily, even though it wasn't stated, along the street. What we're gonna get clarification on is if anyone has a concern of the interior posts and stone posts. And if they do, I think it just can be expressed pretty simply as a motion. We can take a vote to approve, subject to not approving the stone post adjacent to the street. But maybe not.
Sorry, my thing has been going in and out. What's the material of the innermost
They're the
posts?
same, they're just
So,
smaller.
okay, cobblestone
Yeah, just smaller.
posts. Okay, thanks. All right.
That's the problem. On the top of the driveway.
Yeah, so they're inside the parking area.
Yeah.
Does anyone have, want to venture either, if we're gonna not approve anything, I would just suggest we allow a withdrawal. And know that we need to do a denial. Do you have concerns about the inner posts, Abby?
No,
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 Angus?
I don't have concerns about the outer posts.
Are you on that one? No, Carrie?
I would just say, try to use old cobble because the new cobble just looks like Disneyland. When it's very orange and bright colors, you know, the pictures that you've provided are great because they're all pretty old weathered stone. But I wouldn't want to see it standing out with.
Joe, you good with that?
On the interior ones, I'd like to see the revision on the street side ones of wood. With
Yeah, I was going to motion for minor revisions and
I would really like to move this along. We were
Oh,
talking
okay.
about putting posts up or not along the street, and there's not support for them along the street. If there's support for them, which there appears to be in the interior yard space, let's vote it.
The problem is that if they're not getting them out on the main street, they may not want them on the interior. It might
Well, if I may just say, let's omit the one at the entry and let's just keep the gate. I think we would be okay to have that accomplished, just to keep small gate with the stone post and just nothing at the
And the
street.
interior portion.
On the interior
Yeah,
portion,
that's
yeah.
what I thought you said
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm talking about it.
I agree. Just move.
Yeah, having a redo of the post on the outside,
Let's scratch it.
you've ceded the point. Like, why are we gonna have you revise it?
That's correct.
Would someone care to make a motion that the application would be approved subject to removal, with the exception for the stone post adjacent to Cliff Road?
I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Joe. On your motion,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
Angus?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Carries
Thank
unanimously.
you.
Okay, we're going to move on to 8 Macy Road.
Michelle Kolb is not online and she's not in the room.
All right, so we're going to hold that one until 5:15. That's our half-hour rule. And that would be,
Right there.
She just walked in.
oh, she just made it. Hi, Michelle, you're up. Yep. Good timing-ish. Come on up to the mic. No reason to warm up. Jump right in.
Withdrawal of outer post.
Okay, 8 Macy Lane. This was down for review. Your board is myself, Ray, Abby, Angus, Connie. Should Joe be needed at a future, should an alternate be required at a future meeting, it's Joe. And the next one is the hardscape. The board wasn't set. We'll have the same board. When you're ready.
Oh, hi, Michelle Cole, for the record. Good evening. I hope you all had an opportunity to view the property. The request is relatively simple. It is basically dormers on the second story where there is currently no light and no visibility. And the space on the second story is fairly unusable. And the only other option or suggestion would be to add a full second story, which as a preservationist, I would like not to do. And the openings on the first floor are relatively the same openings, same size as what's existing. And there's a rear porch proposed and a front porch proposed. And new windows and doors.
Okay. Questions? Who'd like to begin? Ray, please. Connie,
Yeah, I've been quiet for too long. So I'll reiterate what I said when this was reviewed the first time, which is, I applaud the applicant's efforts to reuse this building in large part. And I do understand, the idea of the need for more space. That seems to be at the crux of all the applications we have for older buildings is, expanding the livable space. And I think that this was done in a sensitive manner, a very sensitive manner. And I also understand, having been at the first hearing, that people disagreed with me on that score and that the dormers, were overwhelming. And I looked at the second floor plan and I see places where the dormers could actually be pared back, particularly on the two ends, say of the north elevation, they could be a little bit narrower because they're sort of open space, like recreational type areas up above. So even though for my own purposes, I wouldn't require that, I would suggest that as a way of, making this more palatable to the other members of the board who are less sanguine about this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Selection of words.
Yeah, I wish you'd put
Abby?
it, like, what did you just say?
What?
Could you just?
What did I say?
Did you, say that you wanted to push the dormers back into the
No,
roof?
no, I was saying that the dormers are rather wide. And if you look at the second floor plan, there are places, like you can pull them in, get rid of, like, if you're looking, just for example, at the north elevation, the long dormer on the right-hand side of the north elevation, you could lop off like 2 feet of the length of that thing, and it would really, not really heavily impact second floor. Ditto on the one on the left-hand side, you could knock some of that off. So I'm saying for my own purposes, I don't need that, but I mean, I think that might be a step towards, getting a majority of people to approve what I think is a good design. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Commissioner Pohl, Commissioner Camp?
No, that's what I thought he said. I just wanted to make sure, so should I continue?
Yes, please.
Because I just thought it was over dormered on the second floor, and if we could pull those in and make them a little smaller, I think it would be more appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Angus, you're on this, right?
Yes. Yeah, so, the houses that surround this are for the most part taller, if not 2-story, 1 3/4 or so. So I really appreciate the reuse of this. There is a hierarchy that exists today that I feel is lost in the proposal. And I think, to Ray's point, there's a way to mitigate that by reducing the flanking dormers from on either side of that center mass. And actually, I think it would look better to add some program to the middle mass to sort of even up the lopsidedness of it. So I think it's possible to get the same program, but just at least on the facade to minimize how much dormer is on the outside compared to the center section. Thank you. Oh, one thing that I did notice with the drawings, and I think it would help to really look at this, is that there are a few inconsistencies, and of all the nights not to have my pointer. So I would just make sure that all the elevations are synced with each other, because in the north and south elevations, the roof peaks and eaves are not shown the same as they are in the east and west profiles. So I would just check on those. Thanks.
Thanks. Connie?
Yes, I also would be in favor of reducing the size of the flanking dormers. And for me, that middle mass, that dormer just looks, I think Angus said lopsided. It just looks strange to me. And I don't really know of a solution, and I understand the need for light, but I just think it looks odd. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess that leaves me. I'm actually fine with this the way it is. It's Nantucket, and it looks like a Nantucket structure to me. It looks much more to me like a Nantucket structure than the homogeneous type of product that's been being constructed there more recently, that looks more like everything else that's being constructed there recently. And I think as a result of that, personally, Nantucket is losing kind of you turn the corner and you're either assaulted by the architecture or you're pleasantly pleased. And sometimes a little bit of both of those is okay. That's how Nantucket has been historically. I do agree with Commissioner Pohl's comment with respect to thinning up dormer space. I think that might help, but it sounds like you may need to do more work than just that.
I'm going to try a motion here.
All right.
I think I might. So, fellow board members, if you go to the second floor plan, I'm going to describe this from the plan point of view. On the left-hand side is what is labeled bedroom 4. And currently, the dormer is 15 feet, I feel like I'm at an eye exam right now. 15 feet, 10 inches. If we could remove 2 feet out of that, bring it to 13 feet, 10, that would remove 1 foot off of each of those side walls of the 2 dormers. That's part A of my proposal, which, by the way, I can memorialize in an Exhibit A. So bedroom 4, the dormers on both north and south both get 2 feet narrower. Then if we go over to the family room, the dormer is 21 feet wide, and I think we could afford to lose, let's say, 1.5 feet off of the right-hand side of that, so that would bring it down to 20 feet, 3 inches. Oh, sorry, no. It's 21, so it'd come down to 19 feet, 6 inches. That's my motion.
As an Exhibit A.
As an Exhibit A.
reflected
Yeah, I
on
know,
the
there was a lot of
elevations.
verbiage, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so the dormers are gonna get smaller, not the.
All 4 dormers on the flanking ends will get smaller.
Not to
Not
understate
on
it.
not on the others, not on the water side, just,
Nothing's happening in the
In the
middle.
middle, but the flankers on both sides
On
of the
both
building.
sides are both
And
getting
on the front
smaller,
and the back, if you will, all will come down in
so
size.
north and south.
north and south.
Excellent.
That's my motion. Thank you.
Sounds like, Abby,
I'd go along with that.
okay, so why don't we do, all in favor, say aye? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that
There we
carries
go.
unanimously. Thank you for crafting
I hope
that
that works for you.
motion, so that'll be an Exhibit A. And, we're gonna move on to the hardscape,
Okay,
which
thank you.
was not a point of contention as of yet. It hadn't been open. It will be the same board. I think just a very brief introduction, Michelle, it's, as we say, the HCC eats with its eyes, and it's a simple.
The intent on the site is to leave as much of the existing natural vegetation. Anything that's planted would also be native vegetation. There are some privet currently existing around the house that are proposed to relocate to the front. During the summer, that's a very heavily parked up street because of the access to Nantucket Beach. So it'd be nice to have screening. There is significant screening there now that would be retained and supplemented. And then the gates are proposed and a small deck, the deck on the back and the stone paved area and the porch off the house and a pickleball court to the front. As my son is an avid pickleball player. He said he would come if I built it.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions for Michelle? Who'd like to begin?
I could go.
Abby?
So, yeah, I just was out there and it's pretty raw and desolate. Don't think you're gonna get any screening to hold. It's so open, sort of the way I picture South Dakota or something. But I think a pickleball court is just gonna look so inappropriate and so out of place in this landscape. I can't imagine it there. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Angus?
Yeah, we actually bumped into each other out there today. And there isn't a lot of vegetation, so there would have to be a lot added to screen this. And as we've sort of faced along the shore, sometimes the screening is, stands out more than the court itself. So I think there's got to be some creative way to landscape this in such a way to hide it. And I'm not sure this is it.
Okay, thanks. Connie?
My concern with the pickleball court, it's in the far corner, which abuts the the neighbor next door's house, it looks like, very closely. I don't know if there's any wiggle room to move it, but I just think, yeah, it's going to be right in their side yard.
Okay. Ray?
Well, a pickleball court in downtown Nantucket is a tough sell because of the vegetation and all that. The only thing, the only hope that I see for this would be to relocate the pickleball court back next to the conservation land, which is in the dead back of the site, furthest away from the public way, and also at the lowest point topographically. But otherwise, I think it's going to be a tough sell for the board. That's all I have to say.
Thanks. So pickleball court's been addressed a little bit. I don't think the pickleball court's at all appropriate on the front. For reasons stated, I agree with topographically and the location at the rear for the reasons stated. I do not believe the gates that are labeled as fences are appropriate either, E or F. I don't believe not only that they're not appropriate, sorry, Michelle, I don't believe gates of that nature are appropriate in that area of Nantucket. They're showing it adjacent to the driveway, and they're just not appropriate designs in terms of the aesthetic for that area, in my mind. So it sounds like we're gonna ask for revisions. And if someone wanted to make a motion to that.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Okay, Michelle, we'll see you next time.
Okay, would you accept the pickleball court in the right rear corner? Although I would have to remove a lot of the existing
Michelle,
native vegetation.
I'm sorry, I think it sounds like you might get some support for that.
Okay.
But double check the video and see kind of how it pans out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
thank you.
thank you.
We're now on to, lo and behold, another pickleball court. 2 Drew Lane. Elizabeth, how are you? All right, it's myself, Ray, Abby, Vale is not here, Angus, and Connie and Joe. And Joe's been sitting a while. We'll give Joe some action. When you're ready, Elizabeth.
Well, I think when I was here, you wanted to do a view, so we staked a couple corners. It's, it sits way lower than the bike path. There's a lot of vegetation. We can add more. And I know there's the tennis court, like a few houses down further on Pulpus Road that's clearly visible from the road. But we're doing a nice fence.
That's not good news.
Are you reminding us our mistakes, or you think it wasn't approved? Say the second one.
Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
Good. Okay, 2 Drew Lane, pickleball. Who'd like to begin? We know the board.
Can I ask a general question?
Yeah, then you can
So-
launch right into your.
Okay, great. Is this sunken in as well as pink? Okay, so just went out there today, and there were a few spots that I thought along Pulpus and making that corner to Drew that could be supplemented with more of what you've already started there. The reason I'm not so opposed to this one, and I really do not like pickleball courts, is because it's on a corner far away from neighbors. It's sort of out there by itself. I think it could actually work. There are I have an issue with something else on this property, but I won't bring it up now. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I lost something in there. You think it's appropriate given its location, or if it's
Yeah,
relocated?
I think where it is probably the best place it could be, because it's away from neighbors, it's surrounded by public roads, except, a bicycle path. It's already been screened. It could have some additional screening, but I think sunken in at where it's proposed is fine.
And just to clarify, it's adjacent to a road, but it's at the rear of the property and it's not Nantucket, just to say.
Yeah, no, this is heavily screened. It goes with the, you know, if you had to add vegetation, it wouldn't look odd like in other.
Thank you, appreciate it. Angus?
Yeah, I feel the same way the first time that I reviewed it, and that is that it's just, you can see all of that now. There isn't very much evergreen there, so you can pretty much see everything from the bike path and from Drew. So, you know, in the summer, I think there's a good chance that this might not be seen. But I think that the screening would have to be supplemented so that it wouldn't be seen all, you know, the other 6 months of the year.
Okay, thank you. Ray?
Elizabeth, how much is it sunken down in that, the closest corner to the bike
It's
path?
about 4 feet, 4.5.
Sunken down?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm good with this.
Okay. Let's see, Joe?
Yeah, I was gonna, when I looked at this before the meeting, I was gonna ask for a section through there, but I think it looks like, I didn't hear Elizabeth, is it down like about 5.5 feet from the bike path?
Yeah, it's about 4 feet, 4.5.
4 feet? And so those steps that are closest to the cottage that's there, are those stepping down into this? It looked to me like
No,
you're,
that's actually all the retaining wall. It steps up onto that lawn level, and then if you look at the drawing, there's a big retaining wall in the back there. So that's kind of retaining the grade like a Falcus Road. So that wall is about it's over 6 feet tall.
okay.
So the grade goes up kind of dramatically towards the bike path. So
I agree with the comments that have been said regarding the visibility. When I first saw it, it jumped out, but now I think I understand the contours better. So I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just think some supplemental strategically placed cedars, something indigenous, not arborvitae, not, you know, Leyland cypress, you're sensitive to that type of thing, is appropriate. Plus, it's just gonna get chowed by deer anyway, so don't bother putting it in.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, please, Abby.
So on this this is your landscape plan, right? When I went out there, there were 2 humongous columns that
yeah.
they're not on this drawing, but they're there.
I just showed up on this property. I've always there, like, you know, precedes me, really. I'm just applying for the pickleball court.
Okay, that's something I'm going to bring up to the staff.
Okay, there's a citizen complaint form you can fill out.
Thank you.
Nice. Let's see those flying around. I want to see those like hanging from Christmas trees. Okay,
these out.
I'm joking. I know how much work it is. Okay, can we get maybe a motion, would it be an exhibit A to indicate, I don't know, 3 or 4 locations to supplement some cedar, or just bubble it and say supplement with cedar?
I can make that motion and make an
For
exhibit A for extra screening.
Juniper Junicanis or something?
Virginia.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay, on Abby's motion, Joe,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
Ray, yeah, Ray,
Aye.
and Angus?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so look at that.
All right, thank you.
It's like magic, we're on number 8. We're on number 8, we have 22, so we've got another 14 to go, if my math is correct.
You helping Val out tonight, Matt?
Oh, I'm sorry. Val, is she gonna be on Zoom or no? Okay, Val, are you on the Zoom?
She's not on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll hold Val's. So that brings us over to 16 Squam, new dwelling, and Matt, like that, you're right in line. Thank you. When you're ready. Are you gonna share?
I'd like to.
Please
Mr. Chair.
enter the room, the virtual room.
It's saying I cannot start a share screen while the other participant is sharing.
Can't wait till we have headsets and we can just have you guys put them up and we can walk down the street and look at it and say, hey,
We're close.
this works. Oh,
We're very
this does
close
not
to
work. I don't know why we're not requesting that. Can we put that on the agenda, please?
Every member gets a virtual reality headset.
Yes.
Great.
So we can walk around the building,
We'll be like,
walk around
"Oh."
the site.
That would put to bed a lot of discussion. In a very effective, appropriate way, I might add. Matt, are you ready?
I am. Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
cool. Roll with it.
So you've seen this once before, and actually the first time you asked for some ridge poles and a viewing, you came back, you gave me some comments, and the biggest one was to drop the height and to adjust the roof walk because too much of the skirt was showing. So we've adjusted the height of the building, took 6 inches out of it. The roof pitches the plate heights are fairly low, so dropping the plate is a bit challenging. And then changing the pitch actually results in kind of a squat roof, if you will, but we did take some height out of it. You did have some additional changes that you had not requested that came up in the time since we've last met, which were the addition of a second floor recessed deck and a new entry portico, which you can see on this elevation here. Again, what I would consider the front of the house is not really visible from any public way. And again, I think from the viewing, from like certain perspectives, you might be able to say that see the top of the ridge of this structure. We did change the size and dimension of the roof walk itself so that there's less of the skirt showing, and then we changed the skirt to natural. So with that, look forward to comments from the board, Mr. Chair.
Excellent, thanks. So your board, myself, Abby, Val, Angus, Connie, and Carrie will be activated. Any questions for Matt? All right, why don't we just launch right into it? That is the sound of everyone who's previewed this application. Matt, what are the colors?
They are white sash, white trim, and we are open to changing the color if it so pleases the board. Predominantly, the area has a lot of white trim. That's why we thought white was appropriate.
Like much of Nantucket.
Yeah.
I remember my ABW days. Anything but white.
I'm
Yes.
still in those.
I remember those days.
I think the scale of this calls for not white, and the sort of turned gable makes it read so much larger than just a eave forward or whatever, that I would say the white is the one issue that makes it, pronounce itself up there on that hill.
Matt, you want to address that with an option for us to consider before we get into further discussion?
There's a lot of trim on this building.
There are cottage corners for what it's worth, but having said that, I mean, the natural default would be to a gray trim and either a gray or a black sash. The sash color, I'd love to have an option or come back.
A homogeneous gray or a darker or lighter? On
I would probably go,
the set?
oh God, I can't remember the name of the gray, but kind of a medium gray, nothing too light, nothing too dark.
Like again, differentiation between the sash and the trim? Or
Yeah, definitely,
homogeneous?
I think there would definitely want to be a differentiation.
Okay,
something
so one that's
contrasting.
a medium and one that's a little lighter on the sash.
Correct, and we could, if it pleases the board, we could just call it black sash, gray trim.
Okay.
Did you say natural to weather roof walk? Sorry, I'm just looking at the roof walk now too.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the
Yeah.
skirting is natural, but the actual railing and baluster is the painted trim.
Because that would be weird. I don't think I've ever seen a painted gray roof walk.
think they exist.
I don't know. And there's not a lot of roof walks in in Quidnet, Squam area.
Anything else, Gary?
No, I'm just concerned about the trim because the roof walk and all the big gables and the details. So that's all.
Okay. Rick? Oh, you're not on. I keep wanting you to be on it because you make emotions.
I can,
Gary? That's a hint, fellas and gals.
Yeah, so I'm concerned, as Carrie is, about the, how this is going to look on top of the hill. And I think painted white, it is going to stick out more. I think we've all been worried about that. So thinking maybe, what if it didn't have the roof walk?
As the authority having jurisdiction, you, my dear Abby, Commissioner Camp, can state that you do not believe a roof walk is appropriate in this location. And that would be a clear message to the applicant's agent.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
It's
Seeing
not
that some of
appropriate
the, from the side, some of them do look a little long-legged. What's the shutter, what color are the shutters?
The shutter was a graphite gray, which is a dark gray. So I think if you went with a gray trim, we would probably go with a black shutter.
Well, I think anything we could do to tone this down and not be peeking up on the top of the hill would be a good thing.
Gotcha. Thank you. Angus?
yeah, I think to Carrie's point, because of the scale and intricacy of the structure, a gray trim makes sense. I appreciate the cottage corners. The roof walk is very large. It's two sections wide. Normally that would be one section wide, which with the very steep roof makes very long legs. So I would want to see natural to weather for the whole thing, for it to sort of blend into the roof more. A gray trim, Quaker or cobblestone or some sort of gray that doesn't look white, and the graphite or whatever that darker gray is could complement that, but the black seems a little harsh. If we wanted to go that dark, I'd recommend a dark green. Thank you.
Thanks, Angus. Connie?
So I was going to suggest the natural to weather roof walk with the gray trim. I would be in favor of that. Thank you.
Thanks. I think that leaves me. Matt, I'm sorry. I think that roof walk is completely inappropriate. The legs, the skirt, even without the skirt, it looks worse because it's super leggy. And with the skirt, it just draws attention to the mass on top of the roof. For me, that's just an absolute no. It has to do with the roof pitch, obviously. It's making those elongated. And if you try to make the legs shorter, you're going to make the surface area of the deck surface of the roof walk smaller, and it's going to look dinky and weird. So for me, color doesn't matter, material doesn't matter. It's just not appropriate. Otherwise, I think the house is completely appropriate. I think the color change to gray. I think a two-shade palette is probably enough, given the complexity of the structure, the roof gables, and the gable fascias on the gables, and the number of windows. I think two colors is definitely the max. And I think a medium gray and a light gray, medium gray on the trim and a light gray on the sash as the pattern would be appropriate. I do not think it would be appropriate the other way around. It's going to make things pop out in a way that, not like a black. The black blends into the window. For me, it could be a black on the sash because that trim, black color, generally blends into the glass pane, given the way the light hits it most of the day. So it's actually typically less obtrusive on a house that's not right up on the street, like on Union Street. It sounds like we have concerns about color that Matt may have addressed. We need to stipulate specific colors, and we haven't resolved the roof walk.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah,
We could approve without the roof walk, and he could always come back.
Yeah,
if
That's what
seemed-
I was gonna ask, through you, Mr. Chair. I was gonna suggest the same thing. I was gonna say, I could omit the roof.
hold on one second, I just want to let Abby finish. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So, yeah, I was just going to make a motion to approve with the gray trim and the graphite sash with no roof walk.
And graphite mates that color pattern we were talking about.
It does, yeah. The graphite's like a,
So a medium gray and a graphite.
yeah,
So medium gray trim, graphite sash and shutters.
yes.
Okay.
And remove the
And
roof
no
walk without prejudice, if I could.
Well, can I say something about the roof walk? Does anybody mind?
Well, there's a motion on the floor. If you want to second it to discuss the roof walk, we can.
Yes, please, because
Okay.
I do have a problem with the no prejudice against the roof walk. The roof walk on this building is completely inappropriate. A gable forward and the ridge going the way it is and the little, it's so atypical for a roof walk to be sitting on a house like this. And I know in the past that, the board has approved roof walks on gable forward buildings, but I still think it's inappropriate, and especially on top of a hill like this. And I don't think that, in a year, if he comes back for a roof walk and everybody's forgotten the whole point of it, I just think that's a bummer. And I would just say, stick with.
Carrie,
Yes,
I took the roof walk off the application in the
I
motion.
understand. But the no prejudice means he can come back after everyone's forgotten about it. So that's my only point. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think, I understand Carrie's point. I don't necessarily disagree, but I have faith in our board will act accordingly when an application is presented. And if at that time, we would be able to go do a view and so on and so forth, and we can ask for a mock-up and all these things come into play. I'm mentioning that as a matter of process. To me, a lack of approval, or basically it's a denial of an architectural element with prejudice is kind of like a high standard, I would think, for the HDC. Like, this is something that is incredibly inappropriate. We want to send a message not only to the applicant's agent and the applicant, but we want it to resonate off the steeples in Portugal. I don't know, for me, just as a student of process, it seems like something we want to use and have special meaning, but that's just me.
I'm not sure it's legal
What?
to forbid somebody to come back to the HTC for something.
Well, we can deny with prejudice, but
Can I explain myself?
It's a term of art, right, for legal. I've seen it at planning board and zoning board of appeals, but
One of the reasons I wanted to take the roof walk off is that he can continue with the design and the development of it, and then we can see if it's,
we're totally good with that. I think just Gary brought up the concept of with prejudice, without prejudice. Without prejudice is basically, it just signifies that to the next group who sits here at the table that, they just, he withdrew it, no big deal, we can review it. Matt, what I would suggest is when you bring it in, just have some minutes or have a notation that there was some
Discussion.
that wasn't favorable about the roof walk. So then it's fairly presented to the commissioners who are sitting in another 6 months or a year or 2 years when you come back, depending on the build cycle for this particular project.
Yeah.
You agreeable to that?
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, it's
You're
completely
honest-
feasible.
You're an honest broker, we're good with it.
We don't even come back for it. It's certainly possible. So.
Okay. So, I understand Carrie's point. I don't
do
think it's
too.
not valid. I just have a different perspective on the use of that type of stuff. So Abby, you have a motion on the floor, and it is the medium gray trim, graphite sash and shutters, and no roof walk, correct?
correct.
And on your motion.
I'm an aye.
Okay, let's see, Angus.
Aye.
Let's see, Carrie,
Aye.
Connie,
Aye.
and I'm an aye.
Thank you very much.
And like that, we're on to number 10, folks. 24 Hummock Pond. Oh, the infamous dormers. I'm really hoping we're not gonna spend a half an hour on these. I don't mind being wrong.
We're not.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. Ready when you are.
All right, we got it up on the screen. Your board is myself, Ray, Abby, Val's not here, Angus, and Joe. Right to the elevations, please.
Yeah. So, I'm ready to begin when you guys are.
Yeah, as soon as you see the elevations, let's get started.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go, perfect.
So I take it you remember this application. This is the second time that it's in front of you. The previous iteration of that dormer edition, the comments were that the distance between the end of the dormers and the main roof gable end is not enough. It was around a little under 2 feet, and the board recommended to bring it to the typical 3 feet distance. And that's what we did. We essentially want to comply with whatever your recommendations are. I think we got hinged on the idea of aligning the lower first floor window with the top. But now looking at this iteration, we actually like it. And there's some interior things that we'll just handle. And that's in front of you.
Great, we appreciate the succinct presentation. Ray?
So I think I didn't have a big problem with the initial presentation. You know, it's innocent, it's a small building, it's set back from the road. I don't feel like the first version was hugely objectionable. I think this is an improvement. I don't like the fact that there's a column in the middle, but that's my architectural school stuff coming out. Rather than have 2 bays, ideally it would be 3 bays, but I'm not gonna get hung up on that. So I'm fine with this, in short.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abby?
Yeah, whatever Ray just said, I agree.
Okay, nice. Let's see, Angus
I don't have anything to add.
and Joe.
I have a few comments, but I'm in the minority, so I'll agree with my
Joe,
fellow.
Joe, your voice counts. You might find something that we all agree with. So if you've got something you really want to say it.
No, I mean, I think it's a net improvement over the existing conditions. So it's, and it's definitely an improvement over the previous submission. I mean, I feel like the asymmetry that is there in the existing structure is interesting. And this oversized porch is attempting to make it symmetrical. And I feel like it just feels a little bit overscaled. But I still think it's a net improvement. So those are my comments.
Thanks. I agree with whatever Abby said, and I just want to add, I do think we need to go with a 3-post porch. And if you is that the existing door location?
Yes.
And is there a partition wall inside to the left of it?
Actually, the new door is located on the small addition that is underneath that
Let me say it a different way, may I?
Yep.
If
It's
you
in
put
the same
3 posts
location.
in there in order for that to be evenly spaced bays, can you move that door over 3 inches to the left? If you need to?
Yeah. I mean, the window and the door will be closer together, obviously, right?
Okay, I mean, I just want
They also
personal
don't
input.
need to be equal bays. The center bay could be wider than the side bays.
Yeah, well, I think if it's wider, it's gonna be right in the middle of the door with no concern. I think what we're gonna do, what I'd suggest is we have consensus here and, on this, and we would give you the option to make a 3-bay versus a 2-bay. Does anyone have a concern with that? I think the aesthetic will improve, but it's gonna be some finicky figuring out. And if you have a question or concern, you can bring it back to staff and they can poll they may poll Commissioner Poll, or they may poll Commissioner Welch. And we can resolve it if you guys are amenable to that.
So In other words, I'm not going to be making that a condition of my motion.
Be an option
Well, yeah,
for three.
for you to
for
explore.
3
Okay.
days versus.
So I can bring,
Just,
You can build it the way here's my motion. I move to approve this as submitted. And what Stephen is saying is you have the option of doing the 3 bays, which, I think, just from a design perspective would look nicer. But you're not gonna have.
so you've got that option in the field. Right?
yeah. Can I just point out something?
No, there's
Would-
a motion on the floor,
Yeah.
we're good to go. I mean, you got an approval.
Cool.
I'm
You're
don't
about to
talk
happy,
yourself
happy to
out.
do it.
Yeah.
Happy
Okay,
to do it.
so that's Ray's motion. On your motion.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Angus,
Can I second for discussion?
it's a little late, but yeah, go ahead. Because we've already voted, so.
Well, it's just showing what the 3-bay is if we went to an Exhibit A and just,
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll work, but I
Something like
don't
that.
have an issue with them having an option.
figure it out. I don't know if you want to,
I can take a look at it. But
I think we can, your concern is that there's an option or you want, yeah, we got to finish.
so it's 3 or 4 posts is what the motion is right now? It's
No.
at the pleasure of the
motion
applicant?
is to approve as submitted.
Yes.
In other words, they can build that porch just the way they want to, or just the way it looks now.
Okay.
We're encouraging them to
I'm
investigate.
an I, but I do have a suggestion.
You wanted a little more pinned down. I understand that.
Yeah, got it.
Given the structure, the location, and I think it's going to be fine, the aesthetic, so I'm an aye. So that is unanimous, and it is as submitted with the option to modify to a 3-bay open porch.
I
Okay?
appreciate that. Thank you very much. Can I approach so I can take a look at what's sketched out?
Yeah, quickly, quietly, and we're going to move on to 7 Thurston's Way.
Mr. Chair, there's nobody in the audience and there's also nobody online that's raising their hand.
Okay, and can you tell me who had this on their consent list? I'm just curious, it's basement fenestration on 7 Thurston's Way.
This is old business.
Yeah, no, but I'm just curious,
Oh,
does it show on your record?
I'd have to look online on the,
Do you have this up?
I haven't got
maybe
it.
it was a
Well, I
Carrie
wasn't
that had
sitting
it?
on it, so I can
Mr. Chair,
get
through
that.
you to Carrie, did you have this on your consent list back on,
Do we even have anyone
10-7?
rep?
No, but I mean, if it's, I'm looking at basement fenestration on 7 Thurston's Way, and I'm
Like,
trying,
it was the orientation of the stairs, that's why you all had it come back.
oh, okay, now I recall it.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
The stair should be a switchback.
You can represent? Yeah. All right. I trust we have a signed form on the file. I'm not gonna go look for it. So Lindsay, your board is myself, Abby, not Val, Angus, Gary, and Connie.
I remember correctly, I think the board asked us to change the orientation of the staircase.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And plan not to scale, okay. And can we,
Wait, what? I can't. Oop.
guys, at this rate, we could be out here at 6:30. Clear.
It's true.
And I'm not suggesting to rush anything, and by any means, but keep the eye on the prize. It's a cold, windy, rainy night. It'd be nice to be home and have some soup. There's no pizza coming tonight.
What?
Yeah, so think about your tummy.
Sorry, Lindsay Congleton for the applicant, I know.
All right, Lindsay, you're introduced. Let's get back on track here.
Okay, so plan is now to scale and we changed the orientation of the basement walk down per the board request.
Okay, Carrie, you had the primary concern on this. Do you have any concerns with this?
Yeah, no, this is a lot better. It's, half as wide from the house now, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any concerns?
No.
No.
Carrie, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, motion to approve as submitted.
Excellent. On your motion,
Aye.
Connie,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Unanimous, just like that, the people's business is being conducted. Let's move on to 85 Estill. Your aye?
I'm chairing this.
Oh, good. Oh, a whole bunch of them. Look at that.
Can you go get the?
I'm gonna go get pizza. I'm gonna stop and have a beer and then
Oh, I
I'll
was
sign out.
gonna say, it's
Bring
fall,
the,
it is
bring the
raining.
beer.
Okay, so you're right, I'm chairing this one, as you know, Abby's here, Val is not, Angus is here, Connie's here, recused Carrie, and I don't see Joe down, so you would be moving forward with a four-person board. Is that a yes?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Okay.
All right.
I'm just gonna interject before I walk away from the table and suggest your aye. Don't slow us down here.
We'll slow you down.
I'll try not
I
to.
would like to say something too later.
So,
Did Carrie just say something?
I did. Sorry, Ray. I had my hand up. I was just going to say I'd like to speak as a neighbor as well.
Okay, I'll get you.
Whenever it's appropriate. Thank you.
I'll get you. All right, you're up, you're up first.
yeah, so, I did some changes to the house, kind of as you suggested, to make the house kind of lower at the east elevation, lower from like looking from the Vestal Road. Switch the massing, the west side is like the taller mass, and I didn't really do many changes to the main house because it didn't really have any concerns. The biggest thing was that I lowered the house to like 39 feet from 39-foot elevation on the first floor compared to what we had it, I think like foot higher. And then I did more of the grading and pool patio location, which is lower, adjusted some retaining walls and did of course edit the survey or plan from the surveyor, which Linda and you actually requested. And then we tried to screen the whole lot, which Lindsay did, and he can explain what we did with that to make the retaining walls to be less visible from Cook's Road mostly. So I guess the best would be if Lindsay shows what the part of the landscaping, hardscaping plan that we did.
Yeah, Lindsay. So Lindsay, you're gonna speak to the point of like the entire house grade dropped? Is that accurate?
Yeah, so we brought Art in, Art came in and did the survey and the topo and went through the walls with us, and we did drainage to make sure we were capturing all the water. So you'll see on the plan, we've got top of wall, bottom of wall, really to mitigate also the height of the walls, so there's a lot of terracing going on. So as you go from the road's at like elevation like 48, our driveway is actually, parking area is actually at elevation 40. And then it grades down to the back of the house at elevation 36.75. And then from there, it steps down to like the fire pit proposed shed level at 34.5. And then we have another terrace after that. And we're really kind of working down the back grade of the property because there's such a steep slope. And we heavily vegetated it. So our tallest point, our tallest wall is 6 feet, which is kind of wrapping around that back left corner. But we have a lot of evergreen trees mixed with deciduous trees. cascading down that slope, some at the top, some at the bottom. And at the bottom, before you get to the back of the lot, we have a drainage swale with gravel to capture any water that, is flowing down the hill, to make sure it doesn't get to the property at the bottom. I know this is a sensitive area because I did the project on Dukes Road down the street, so I know what happened on the neighboring house, so I think this plan mitigates the visibility, helps with the drainage and hopefully helps with the neighbors as well.
Okay, Lindsay, that's it? That's
Yeah, actually, one more thing about the house, where I said the house is stepped or pushed lower. The first floor is lower. As Lindsay said, the road, the highest point on the road is around 82, 83 feet.
38,
Our house is
right?
at, 48, sorry.
48.
House is at 39.8. So we are almost 10 feet lower with the first floor of the house compared to the road that's parked in front of the vestal.
Okay.
Or in front of the property that parked.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, let's see, Linda, you're up at the mic right now.
I don't know which one we're talking about. We just spent an awful lot of time talking about the grading and the lot and all that stuff. Are we talking about the house? Or are we talking
No,
about the
we're-
hardscape?
This is about the main house.
Okay, we haven't looked at the elevations up there. Now, I'm concerned because there is a stamp on the topo from Art. There is no stamp on his overlay for the house. And if you stay right there on that picture, right above you, there's a lot of cut and fill. I don't think these are accurate. The grading is a grave concern to the guy below this. He's already had a couple of letters in here. It's a grave concern to my guy at 89. This is a much smaller lot than the one at 89, which goes all the way down to Dukes Road, and this one does not. This was a small lot subdivision, though it is conforming as to lot size. But these are small lots compared to some of the other ones up there, particularly 89. And it's a lot of program on one lot. And this is the 6th time, forget the 3 strikes and you're out stuff, but this is the 6th time this has been in here. And he's admitted to not many changes to the main house. The elevation you can see from this side, that you look at the one in the middle above you, the eaves are very high. I don't know what the plate height is. I think you can get more height out of this thing because it's looming over Dukes Road. And I think you can get another 6 inches to a foot out of this. The plates look very high because of the eaves are so high. It looks like from the street side, if you took a hose and stuck it in the building and blew it up, that's pretty much what this is. It is not following the grade. The garage does not, the guest house does not follow the grade. The pool does not follow the grade, and they are plateauing, no matter how you slice it, it's being plateaued. When you get to the garage, the guest house, I'm gonna come back at that. It's worse than the house. So I just don't know where to go with this. It's just not appropriate. It's just too much going on this one lot. And I believe that's come up before from several other people. But I'm concerned about the site plan with how everything's on it in red. It is not stamped by the surveyor. So I don't know how much grading is changing. Because when you look at Arts, which is the slide above this, there's quite a lot of grade change. It is a very steep slope.
Linda, you
And
did
I don't know-
make that point.
I don't know
a minute
how
or
that's
two
working,
ago.
because it's not accurate.
Okay.
And it's a lot of manipulation and overblown on this lot.
Okay.
Evergreens are not appropriate either, but I don't know what they're going to do down there.
Is that it, Linda?
Yep.
Thank you. Carrie?
That's just the house.
Yeah, I'm regarding the house, I'm very concerned about the access and the driveway. I just don't see how that driveway and parking is going to accommodate the entire development. The house, it's okay, I guess. But it's really the other structure and the driveway access is incredibly limited. This is a very skinny dirt road, and to change the nature of the road to accommodate more cars on the side of the road versus on the property would be completely out of character, and I think the whole neighborhood would be up in arms. So I would just say, make sure that your parking works for many, many cars, because we know there will be about 5 here. Thank you.
Okay, Carrie, thank you. And so,
I've only commented on the house part, Mr. Chairman. I have comments on the other three
well,
applications.
no, you said that.
Okay.
You said that too. You said you wanted to talk on the guest house, so.
Me too.
And the hardscape. There's a real issue there.
All right. Well, that seems to be what most of this discussion is about anyway. So, everybody finished? Anyone else? All right, I'm gonna put it, what?
So in our grading plan, it may be faint, but there are blue line sticks showing our proposed topo compared to existing. And our did review our site plan and actually referred back to us in comments after we did our original plan. So the plan that we provided, the site plan we have provided has been reviewed by our.
But not stamped.
And also, yeah, the one that's not stamped, that Art sent both pages.
Let's not
Stamp.
get into the stamp, not stamp stuff. That's for the board to decide whether that's a priority or not. Okay, so I think everyone's finished saying their piece, except for the board members. Once again, myself, Abby, Angus, and Connie would like to begin the lively discussion.
I'm happy to start.
I'm sorry, but just to state the obvious, we are reviewing the main house application. And I think it's fair to review the grading as it relates to the main house. So go ahead, Angus, thank you.
So I think this is the best proposal so far out of all of them. We have seen this a lot, many times. And the main issue was with the siding, and I think the main house is still close to the road, and the elevation, I'm not sure how accurate that is in the profile, where it shows the house and the road almost at the same height. If you look on page 5,
This section.
the section, yeah. There isn't much difference between the road and the parking and the base of the house. I'm also noticing the existing grade, and everything is filled in and built up from that rather than being built into the hill, which is more in line with our guidelines. So sort of the more global issue is the siding of the house. Yes, one corner from the street, the right side it shows 48 feet, but on the left side, it shows 41 feet, and then the house is at 40 feet. So that's barely a foot difference. So I would want it to be stepped further back and be lower. And then just sort of more the nuance, looking at the street elevation, I guess it'd be the south. I appreciate the drops in roof heights, but like the front porch, I think could come, the house side of the porch, the high end of it, could come up to the window sills, which would reduce the verticality of that center section, and also make it would just, I think, make the roof, the porch roof integrate better with the house. And I appreciate the gable going away that was on the right side. The shed dormer is a little wide and unfenestrated, so I would close that in and if possible, make the eave a little bit lower than the main house eave, just so it doesn't compete with it. And I'll leave the rest to the other commissioners. Thank you.
Angus, thank you. Who's next? Abby? Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So architecturally, on the main house, I really don't have any issues on the architecture of the house. I think it's appropriate. My more global concern has always been the programming on this site. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. So architecturally on the house, you're good.
Yes.
All right. Abby?
So, I was going to speak more globally, but then you said we couldn't.
No, sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe I don't want to,
Yeah, no, because
Be
this is what's before us. It unfortunately, I couldn't, got the other things.
I think you're welcome to speak globally, but, what we are actually reviewing is the house.
Yeah, it's hard for me to put into words why I think this is inappropriate, but basically, when you drive up there, it's a rural road, woods, smaller buildings. Yes, there are some trophy houses up there, but talking about streetscape, you're coming off that street and then you've got a parking court, and then you've got a building that's almost as wide as the lot. And then after that, it tumbles down the hill. So, it's hard to talk about one thing on this site without talking about everything. And my main objection is it doesn't go with the natural landscape. And looking up from Duke's Road, it does have this Acropolis effect, which is just points out that some sites, you can't develop them the way you can on a flat site. So it's got a lot of problems, and I think it's overdeveloped, and it just can't take it, and it's just not going to look right. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, Abby, thank you. Well, I think everyone has raised good points on this. I'm still trying to figure out the grading thing.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not consistent from side to side.
Well, it
Front to
can't
back.
be, because the road itself, or the front property line is sloped. It's sloped in both directions, front to back and side to side. So I'm trying to get my arms around it. If we don't have any major objections to the house, and we accept the fact that I'm looking at a finished floor of 39.85, is that correct?
Yeah.
So a finished floor at 39.85 would imply a grade of approximately 38.
Yeah, it will be Matzo, so around 38. The driveway is
Which,
actually 40.
by the way, excuse me for interrupting, but all that does show up on the topo plan right now. You're at elevation 38, and if we, can basically assume that Art's topo is correct, the high point is 48 up in the upper or the lower right-hand corner. And then it goes down to 41. So you could make the claim that, you're either 10 feet below the road, or you are only 2 feet below the road, depending on where on the road you're talking.
It's 2 feet.
But I think net, you're,
Approaching from
what?
we're approaching from town, which everybody drives.
You're at the high
You're
point.
coming from the high
Well,
point and
yeah,
coming
yeah,
down.
so it's anything in between 48 and 41, 7 feet of difference. So, I'm not sure none of the 4 people sitting on this are of a mind to make a motion for an approval of the house, correct? Is that a safe? Is it safe? Okay, so I think it's only fair, if no one's gonna make a motion to approve the house, that we need to give Uri guidance as to what he's gonna need to do by way of modification.
I don't think he's gonna want to hear what I have to say, but.
Can't hear you.
Well, I think in this case, maybe you can speak more holistically, which I think is what you're gonna say, right?
Okay, so, yeah, I did say that I don't think every lot, every site we have can have a main house, a parking court, a cabana, a swimming pool, it's just, it's impossible on this site to fit that all in. Yes, you could do something simplified. It could be a more, the parking court could look more like Vestal Street, and everything could be smaller and scaled back, and you could do something on this site, but you can't do everything that has been proposed here. That's why I can't vote for it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Carrie, yeah, and by the way, Carrie, before I let you talk, I'm gonna talk.
Sure.
Because I want to underscore what you said regarding the parking and, getting up the hill to be able to get onto the road. That's gonna be kind of a tight little area there. So, Carrie, sorry, just had to throw that in.
yeah, no, that's a very incredibly valid point, and just the amount of parking.
One that made it.
But the cottage, oh, sorry, you were doubling it, I guess. The cottage, there are no 1.5/2-story cottages on Vestal Street at all. There are 1-story garages. There is one garage apartment that has a low eave and dormers, but there is no other building like this second dwelling on Vestal. And I think that's a huge part of this problem of this property is there just are none up there. So that's all I have to say.
We're still on the main house, correct?
I know, but on a global scale and all that, it just seems very important to note that in the neighborhood.
Mr. Chairman, did they say what color the trim and the windows are on this thing?
Uri, could you answer her question rather than have me look it up?
Yeah, I'll have to look it up too.
Oh, you have to look it up too?
It can't be white.
The COA is not here.
Is there an application?
In the meantime,
So I could maybe offer some direction.
yeah, thanks very much, Angus.
So to reduce the impact, I mean, the width is a lot, but I think that it can be mitigated by there not being such an elevation on that west addition as you're looking from the street. So I would remove that dormer and have the access to the parking come in from the southwest corner so that it's a minimal grade change. And then there's an opportunity for more landscaping along the front. So I think those could probably help mitigate the impact of the elevation.
It's a fabulous idea, changing the access. Anyone else? Because I think we're gonna, I want to look at the guest house just because I think this has to be reviewed more holistically. But are we going to hold the main house for revisions just to,
So moved.
okay. We're all at the table, so all those in favor of Abby's motion to hold the main house for revisions, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's look at the guest house.
What revisions are we really doing with the main house?
Sorry?
What revisions are we doing with the main house?
The west side.
Yeah, Angus just
can you-
said it.
Oh, I would just review the tape, but
Okay. And some of it relates to the landscape here.
Lowering this. Oh.
You on the guest house now?
Good? Okay, all right, guest house quickly, Linda. Oh, actually, let's let Uri.
Yeah, he's gotta go
present
first.
Yeah.
Guest house is from last time when we submitted, or actually we never discussed it, but originally it was in the front. I moved it further back and lowered it, and its first floor is at 36.83, so it's another
The
3 feet
floor
lower.
or the grade?
Floor.
Okay,
First floor is it's 3 feet lower than the main house,
right.
and I changed it into a guest house with a 1.5 story with a studio above, some kind of working as a cabana guest house, and stairs to the second floor from the outside on the east elevation, and it's simple structure with 2 dormers. So I don't think that's anything overwhelming or too tall or too big. And the colors actually are platinum gray trim and black sash, like on the main house.
Black and gray trim,
Black windows and gray trim. Yeah,
and did you
black.
say white?
Black
No.
sash.
black sash. Black,
No white.
no white.
Okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Quickly?
really quickly, because I can see.
Out
where
of scale, I agree with everything Kerry said when we were talking about the main house. This is a 2-story structure. This is not a story and a half. These dormers are oversized. They look odd because there's so much space. They're so oversized that it's almost 2-story, no matter how you dress it up, because they're flush dormers.
Oh, they're sitting on this one.
Can I keep talking? And when you look at the part facing Duke's Road, which I believe is the lower left on the picture up there, hard to tell with these drawings, you've got a huge basement showing. So this thing's going to look very narrow, very tall, with a very large piece underneath that first floor. So he may say that the first floor is X, Y, and Z on the roadside maybe, but when you go to the Duke's Road side up there, that's quite dramatic, that lower left picture behind you.
Okay, briefly, Linda. You
And
promised me.
I believe that's it, but oh, the French doors, I don't know which way they face. I take it they face the pool.
That's correct.
Okay. They'll be visible from
Okay.
below, but I think it's inappropriate for many reasons.
Oh, right. And we've
By the
heard
way,
from Carrie.
Can I, one more comment? The guest
quick
house
comment.
is 362 square feet. So it's not
Oh,
very,
footprint?
yeah,
Well, that makes the height worse.
Okay, well, we'll get right to that.
just on the size.
Yeah, okay. Now, Stephen has offered to sit in as your 5th member, because this guest house is
First time.
to track, so it doesn't have a board. So Stephen's in on this one. Are you ready? Because it's going to the board now.
No, I'm not ready to speak on it.
Okay. So the rest of the people at the table, comments on the guest house now.
So I'm not going to talk globally anymore, but, because, I mean, individually, it's okay, but again, unfortunately, you're going to be looking up at this, and it says it's 22 some odd feet high, but looking up from Duke's Road, that, I think it's the north side that faces Duke's Road, is, you're going to see the foundation of that building, and it's going to loom and look,
Excuse me.
the,
South faces Dukes. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Dukes. North faces
North.
Dukes, you're
yeah,
right,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So the back of the house with the foundation that has to come up to grade to make it, to level it. So it's going to appear very vertical, and I don't have anything else to say, but I just, this is a tough site. Thank you.
Abby, thank you. Who's next?
I'll go.
Thank you. Angus.
So I had to go back to the section of the main house to be able to really look at how much of this is sitting above the existing grade. And that's the concern, is that there's just the overall height and volume of the guest house, I don't think would be an issue in a flat lot, but on this sloped lot, it should be set into the hillside, at least bring the first floor down to existing grade, if the rest of the second floor is going to be part of the proposal. So I think it needs to come down dramatically. And preferably, there wouldn't be an exterior stair facing the street. And the fenestration, I think there would have to be some sort of mock-up or something to see how exposed that is from Duke's, as you go from west to east on Duke's. But my main concern is the height, and sort of contributing to the volume of the main house, which already feels wide. So if it were dropped dramatically, I think that would mitigate it enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Angus. See, that leaves Connie
Yeah.
and Stephen.
I have nothing else to add. I agree with the points about the verticality and the stairs. Thank you.
Okay, Connie, thank you. Brevity. Stephen, you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I just gotta say, the engineering on this, I think is, like, this is just a series of structures that are waiting to wash down that hill. Like, there's a serious amount of engineering that needs to go into this, that I think is, given looking at the retaining walls, is being overlooked. The base of wall, you basically got a 5-foot retaining wall, you got a series of 4 and 5-foot retaining walls holding up the side of, the structure. It's just this, I don't think it's a good idea, but in any event, I think the height of these patios, the plateaued step down, looking holistically, from the front to the back, and this being in the middle, there's not enough step downs in between, by a significant amount. I think there needs to be, like, instead of 3 steps down, there needs to be like 6 steps down. At each interval, there needs to be, between 3 and 4 more steps added, so that you're stepping down the hill versus building the hill up. And that relates to the structure, and then the height of the structure, to my mind, is too tall. This is a 22'7" structure. Familiar with different structures that are much wider than this, more in the neighborhood of 30 feet. That the gable spans, and they top out at 23 feet, and they have a 10-foot ceiling on the first floor, 8-foot ceiling on the second floor, and again, a wider space. So this is just 2110, I'm sorry, so 22 feet tall. I think it's too tall. I think the first floor needs to come down, second floor needs to come down. I appreciate the fact that the windows meet, the dormers meet the meeting rails meet fascia to the left and the right, but 16 times 8, 80, 408 your steps are too high. I think you need to top out at 140 inches on your steps, so that's an indicative of the height here. Maybe it's 144. I can't remember the commercial or the residential code, but it's too tall. Too tall by far. The plateau needs to be lowered, and there needs to be less visible foundation. So that means that's where you're getting the, maybe add 5 steps, I'll say. Step down 5 steps to get to this from the main house. If any of that's unclear, it's just because it's kind of confusing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
When you say 5 steps, is that 5 like 8-inch rise or 3 steps?
I'd say at least, yeah, I'd say like you need to be, I believe that for this to be more appropriate, you should be dropping almost 4 feet between levels as opposed to what's being proposed. So the level coming out of the house, coming down a set of stairs to the patio level, which is aligns with the first floor, roughly the first floor level of this. They coincide, I understand they're not the same height. And then the next set of steps down, you're going down more. The fact that the pool is it creates such a large space on this, plateau space, I really think you should, guys, if you haven't looked at engineering, you need to look at the engineering on this. There's a lot of weight, there's a lot of surcharge being added on the upside, and this is just literally waiting to wash down a hill.
Yeah, all the walls are gonna get structured.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top of wall, bottom of wall, and I'm not seeing any indicator that you're gonna have, you know, these structured, they're 8-inch thick walls, retaining walls. I mean, you're probably looking at more like I'm not gonna get into that aspect of it. I just think that it's, it would behoove our process for you to have confirmed the engineering works before we get into this much more.
Okay, Stephen, thank you, and I'll just underscore the height thing. As seen from,
Dukes.
no, Dukes has been discussed, well, not that it doesn't need to be discussed, but, you know, it's been discussed. I'm talking about the south elevation, and 22.7 for a guest house is not an unreasonable height in and of itself. But there's something about the fact that there's just this wall that makes this, and the footprint is relatively small, as you pointed out, Uri, and all those things are sort of conspiring to make this feel like a very tall 2-story building when it's 1.5 stories. So it just needs to be finessed so that it so that it really feels more integrated into the, you know, we will all agree is a difficult landscape that you're working with. That's all I have to say. I think we need some revisions. There we go.
And information that this is viable build.
Yeah, a lot was said. Okay, so Stephen's motion is to hold the guest house for revisions, and those revisions would include revisions to the grading and the landscape, hopefully. All those in favor of Stephen's motion, say aye.
Can I second
Yes,
that?
yes.
Just to add that the shed and the hardscape would track.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Can I ask
yeah.
a couple questions with regards to landscape, just so when I go back, so.
Okay, really quick.
Okay, so I'm here in southwest corner for the driveway coming in, more
Oh,
screening.
excuse me, wouldn't you think that's a good idea?
Oh, yeah, no, I came
Okay.
in kind of late to the game here, so. like,
Okay, all right.
So, makes total sense. I hear you on the stepping down 4 feet. Currently, we're at 3 feet between, the main house down to the pool, so another 4 feet. Take the 30 inches down to 4 feet, tear some more down. Cut and fill, like show an existing proposed from the site section, would that help? And then, I think some of the comments about the height of the buildings and everything, visibility from Dukes Road, I think if you look at it without any trees or any landscaping, I 100% agree, but I think that, and I'll show it in our section, like, the trees are gonna soften it and make them not feel as tall, especially with the driveway coming in further down the road, if we landscape more from the street side from Duke's Road, that would help mitigate visibility of the structure. But even from the back, we can do a section showing sight lines from if you're on Duke's Road. I think it's not gonna feel as tall.
Lindsay? The next time we review this, we're all going to be astonished.
Astonished. That's
Yeah, and the
definitely
cross-section,
nothing else.
if there wasn't a cross-section in the main house, which I did not sit on, I don't see one in the guest house, definitely a cross-section was proposed. And I would suggest two, because there's a differentiation across the front from left to right, and that changes things, so we should be able to see what's going on through the longer part of the lot, from front to back. And so
we
two
have
cross-sections
that.
would reflect that.
That was an awful lot of discussion on the motion.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Everybody in?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, I think it's back to you, Mr. Chair.
Let's see, we're gonna go to 1826 Sparks. This is gonna be a pretty presentation. We're gonna make a decision on color and move on.
And I'm going to do my best to meet your challenge to get out by 6:30.
Yes.
Fiona, if you could actually go to the last colored slide, I think that'll pretty much show the case. So there were two concerns, keep going if you would. There were two things that were mentioned, taking a look at the colors within context of the renderings. So we looked at three different colors, one of them for the window sashes, but from a housekeeping standpoint first, I've reviewed this with Kathy and Holly, and we've confirmed that the commission approved platinum gray for the B building, not cobblestone. Cobblestone was approved on the A building, and I have confirmed that all the imagery that was presented prior to that did represent cobblestone on the A building and platinum gray on the B building. So Holly and Kathy asked me to provide a memo, which I've done, just to state that so that we can keep track of that in the file. That being said, there were two concerns, making sure that the commercial muntins on the first floor level met the historical profile of 3/4 of an inch. We've confirmed that that is the case, and I supplied with the resubmittal those profiles that we received from Anderson. And also the check rails are 2, and they can provide 2 1/4. Those were the horizontal bands underneath the upper clear story effect on the commercial windows that we're looking at. I also want to point out that the intent is to have the spacer bars between all of the mullions on both the residential 400 windows on the upper floors and the lower windows there. These are all fixed, they're not snap-ins, and we do intend to have the spacer bars there so you get the full depth effect. Fiona, if you could scroll down through the imagery, is that it? That's not what was...
So guys, look at your tablets. There's
Yeah, I
color
got it.
renderings there. And
Yeah, there were, so what we did was we did a study for forest green windows on the platinum gray, dark bronze, and then also black. We'd like to withdraw the green actually from consideration. We just don't feel that that looks right. And also I wanted to point out that the Cumberland Farms window sashes are green right next door. So the whole idea was to try to create a scape that didn't match all the way across. So we'd like to take forest green, off the table and consider black and or dark bronze.
so guys, if you look at the last page, it has the study all together, so you can just zoom in and zoom out as much as you.
It's at the very end.
And that's all for my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, George. I'm saddened that you want to remove the forest green. I personally think it's the most appropriate, but we're gonna see what the board thinks. Who'd like to begin? The board is myself, Ray, Abby, Angus, Connie, and Joe. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Joe's the alternate, should he be required in the future. Anyone?
I can start.
Ray.
Well, what's under consideration is the sash color,
That's
right?
correct, yes.
That's the optionality, and it's bronze or black?
That is correct, unless there's a strong preference for
forest green by the board, but the two we would like to consider is black or
I
bronze.
actually, I think that the bronze is good, and I'm going to say why. I find myself in this, we deal with this black all the time, and black is pretty absolute, and when it's a baked-on finish, a clad window, it's black forever. And the nice thing about painting like a door or a window black out here is it weathers out, it becomes more of a gunmetal gray, and that is, to my mind, what the bronze is simulating. So it's much more sort of like toned down. So that's my vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Abby?
Well, so I'm looking at, I'm trying to get so the bronze color looks a little reddish rusty to me. I prefer sort of that gunmetal black.
I do
with the
have
gray.
samples if you'd like me to pass them around.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a great idea. But I do agree with you about competing with Cumbies because that's already gray and green. And I noticed that after our last,
Either way, this is black and bronze obviously is that one.
yeah, it might have looked, stranger on the tablet than in real life.
That's pretty subtle.
Otherwise known as almost the same.
Yeah.
So the sash is
Pardon me?
just Nantucket gray?
No, that would be the sash.
No, the trim and the
I mean the
casings,
trim,
the trim and the casings would be platinum gray.
platinum gray, okay. And, sorry, we're talking about building A or B?
B, the B
B.
building. Yeah, A, we're proposing to leave as approved.
And that's cobblestone?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're going to have cobblestone on A. Cobblestone on A, and B is going to be platinum gray.
Platinum gray and black sash.
That's previously approved,
Platinum gray was previously approved.
but the black sash.
For everything. It was platinum gray for the sashes and the trim. We'd like to change the sashes to, well, bronze or black.
So let's just be clear, both structures are under consideration for the color of the sash.
No, we're not proposing any changes to the sash color on the A building.
And what is the A building currently?
The A building was approved as cobblestone.
Cobblestone, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So final answer, Platinum is the light gray, like your sweater, sort of.
Sort of, it's not
That's
quite
an
as
option for
warm
the sash.
as Nantucket
sweater?
or Quaker gray is a little warmer.
But this is the option for the sash.
Well, no, the options for the sash are what we decide. Like, it could be any color we decide, or they can go with what was approved. I don't want to.
Yeah, I
Put us
think
into a
I'm going to go
box,
with
is it?
Ray's idea. I like the bronze. Okay.
Angus?
Yeah, I think the black is harsh, so I would do, bronze would be my second choice, and I don't know, green or bronze, but not the black.
Can I have those, please?
Connie?
Bronze.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, just to be clear, to my mind, there's literally no difference between these. Practically no difference between these. So this is to my mind, this is a different take on give them three choices, two they won't approve and the one you want. This is give them three choices, two of which you want, and then take one off the table. I don't think that either of these colors are appropriate, given the size of the structure and its proximity to the street in combination with one another. I don't have any concern about the color on the structure at Cumberland Farms. It has a different color trim, doesn't it?
It's a gray, I couldn't tell you which one
Yeah,
that
I
it
think
is.
it's a lighter gray. What color are the roof shingles on this?
This is, I believe, Georgetown. I can tell you that. I actually don't have a copy of the original COA, but it's on this presentation that's on the screen. I
I
believe
mean,
they're
it presents
George.
as like a brownish color.
Yeah, it's Georgetown, I believe, is
Yeah.
what's on the.
So to my mind, neither of these colors is appropriate. The green is the most appropriate. I think a lighter color is actually probably the most appropriate color than even the forest green, but if you're gonna go dark, I think forest green. This structure is incredibly close to the street. I mean, like, you are gonna be shocked when you see this built. And the color of this ash is going to have as much impact as walking down Union Street and looking at a house. You are literally gonna be looking in the window. And I'm not trying to be overbearing on it, I'm just trying to be very cautious, because this is gonna be something that will be talked about. Mark my words. What would you folks like to do?
Could I just
Yeah.
say something? I'd like to say that, yes, these buildings are going to, it's a very big building, it's going to be very close. But I think the dark sash is going to give it dimension, and rather than make it monotoned, I think monotone is going to make it look even more, it's going to make it look larger and undefined, where I think just having that slight definition in the sash might sort of make it sit a little more peacefully than just a combination of light grays or something.
Gotcha, thank you. Appreciate that. What would you guys like to do?
I actually, I think this bronze, I don't want to, I don't mind the green, but I do think this bronze is going to read differently than pure black. I do.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, to Stephen's point, I mean, we're looking at two chips that, unless you were told they were different, I mean, from a distance, it'd be hard to tell. And I do believe that you could tell the difference between the bronze and the black once they're on there, but that's like one color that's being offered. And if the request was three, what are those three that were being offered?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I mean, if green settles that issue, we can deal with green, but, that would give you three. I have the rest of the sample chips here for the Anderson products.
Do you have the chips?
I have the green chip and I have the rest of the chain that's available.
Well, I think this is a large enough project, it's gonna have a long enough impact.
Can we take a look at the
should
green?
at it.
The green? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this isn't on Thurston's Way.
Is this the board here?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
An option. I have the rest of the chips available.
So it's dark, it's like an Essex green.
Yeah.
That's the only green there.
Through the chair, do we have a gray? The trim color? Thank you.
Okay, the renderings that George produced made the green look a little bit like, you guys know what chrome green is? That's dark.
That is dark.
Yeah. Are we all agreed at the board that the darker sash would be more appropriate than something light?
Well, I'll explain why I thought.
Because I do agree with
And I
that.
think that has merit, I'm
It just sort of recedes, it's almost like it's a big window opening, like no articulation.
These are other options from.
Yeah, I'd hate to,
Thank you.
I don't want to go too far astray.
Yeah.
there's not a dark enough gray, so
Yeah.
to make that worthwhile. So it looks like we've got the three colors in Angus's hand.
If it's a deal breaker, I could certainly go for the green.
I think I'm the only one who's pushing for green, so you guys,
I'm with you on the green.
all right.
I'm a bronze, platinum gray.
It's not gold or silver, that's for sure, it's definitely a bronze.
I can do many
that's
things, but
correct.
that's not one.
It's just us chickens right here. so-
Yeah, just us.
Okay. I have an idea.
You're gonna,
No.
Tell me one,
We'll
two,
get the
three left or
black.
right.
Passionate about the bronze.
You're passionate about it. Abby's passionate about it.
I know that the bronze will work. I do.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion. Okay,
Yep.
let's see if it flies without prejudice.
No prejudice.
I'll make a motion to approve with platinum gray on the sash and bronze on, platinum gray on the trim and on the sash bronze. I don't know what the doors are. What are the doors?
Well, yeah, the
Bronze.
doors were approved actually as a darker green, which we would be happy to leave. Or we could just make them the same color as
No,
everything.
we're not going to have green and bronze. So.
Okay.
So the doors would be bronze as well.
Yep, that's no problem.
But that's my motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Unopposed. So, 4 in favor, 1 opposed, Welch.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
I'll grab my shirt.
Heads are gonna roll when that building goes up, let me tell you. They're sitting on this side.
George, you're gonna be in the current when that thing gets built. It's so close to the street.
I can't
I
leave
have a
you.
feeling I'm gonna be in a lot of stuff. in that thing.
Yeah, well,
You're gonna what?
it'd be
I'm
good for
gonna be in a lot of
business.
stuff, not just the art.
I'm going to step away
Welcome to
just
the
for a
club.
second.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, George, thank you. We appreciate, and I just have it go without saying, we appreciate the renderings and we understand
Yeah,
that that's not
yeah.
just like I mean, it is in a way, but it isn't.
Yes.
You know, there's pre-production and the rest of it, so thank you.
Worth a
We-
thousand words, as they say.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Okay, Linda, we're gonna move, Linda left?
No, Linda left, Dinah.
Is Dinah's here? Oh, okay.
Dinah's
I'm sorry,
online. I don't know
get
if,
so
sorry,
associated with this.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if Dinah's gonna be screen sharing or not. Are you gonna be, Dinah?
Hi, yeah, I will not be screen sharing. There's just
Okay.
2 sheets per,
Welcome, Dinah. Good to hear you. Good to hear your voice, rather.
thank you.
To Honeysuckle, when you see the site plan, let's see if we can go through this.
Okay,
Please focus on items that are visible from the street.
sure. Okay, to address the commissioner's comments from last presentation, there were, basically, we had a 7-foot fence with a 1-foot lattice as the tall fence, and then a 4-foot picket fence, just generally commenting on the fence. So what we did was we brought all the fences down to 6 feet or 4 feet. And the other general comment was we would like to delineate more clearly, where does the 4-foot start and where does it step up? And what is the lineal feet of each segment in each color? So we graphically represented that by making the 6-foot cedar board fence a blue color, and the lineal footage is on each segment there shown. And the 4-foot picket fence is the magenta or purplish color on the lower left for 2 Honeysuckle. And that were the main comments that we received. And to just show maybe a cutout on the back lot, on the rear lot line, rear yard. I think Abby, one of the commissioners mentioned breaking back that continuous fence near the rear yard.
Yeah, thank you, Dinah. So let me just get this straight. So on Honeysuckle Drive, you've brought back the fence to 4 feet in places, and everything else is 6-foot board fence.
Correct. Per the images on the upper left, the legend of the fence.
I'm just gonna do a point of order here. So you're chairing, Val's gone, Angus is on this, Connie and Joe. So you got 4-person board,
Okay.
just for the record.
Okay, thank you. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, board members, anybody ready?
I'm ready. This is Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
I appreciate the clarity in these drawings now. It's very easy to understand what's happening on this lot. And I also appreciate you including, I think it's the last page of the group here, what this looks like adjacent to the lot next door, which is the next application.
Yes.
And I no longer have any concerns, so I'm okay with this.
Thank you, Joe. Connie or Angus?
I have no concerns.
So, my concern is a 6-foot board fence facing the street. I appreciate the drop to 4 feet where it's shown. I think that makes a big difference, but, and between the properties, I think 6 feet is fine, but the 6 feet along whatever that street is.
Ironwood.
Ironwood.
Yeah, Ironwood is my concern. So I think the landscaping, the vegetation is what needs to make that screening complete rather than a board fence. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And think about where you might change that if you were to change it, because I kind of agree. Connie?
Oh, I said I had no concerns.
Oh, no concerns. And Joe went, and I feel that it's a bit much to have that whole corner 6 feet, and I'd like to have that drop somehow to make it a little bit more neighborhoody. Do you have a suggestion to where to drop the 6-foot fence, or how to deal with all that 6 foot?
Well, Madam Chair, I don't know if you're asking me, but we were able to kind of weave it in between the existing Leland cypress where you see this 27.4 feet fence. So you're buffered in front of the fence and behind it, and basically it's also to hide the pool. But the vegetation will do that in front of and behind the fence. And the fence is also there for privacy, of course, because they're so close to the two main streets, Beachgrass Road and Ironwood Road, that the homeowners need, a level of privacy as well. But
Maybe the entire fence ought to do that.
maybe what?
Sorry if I'm speaking out of order, but
Go ahead, Joe.
maybe the the rear property line, it continues instead of jogging. The fence comes in, whatever that is, 5 feet off the property line and allows vegetation on both sides of it.
Yes, and there will be vegetation behind it as well towards Ironwood Road. So just to weave it in between, we would like to do that as well. There's a lot of existing root growth in there. I can look at taking that, maybe you see the 70-foot, 0.35, 6-foot fence. If we take that linear, make it a straight line with the 27 and then curve it back when we get to Beachgrass, do a step out there, would that be more favorable? Just basically continue the 27-foot all the way towards Beachgrass Road, which is to the left, and then die into the curved fence on the Beachgrass Road side.
Personally, I think that would help.
It's a start.
I agree. I agree with Joe's suggestion that there should be. I mean, I don't think that if you see a bit of a fence peeking out here and there, like, okay, I can tell that there's a fence there, but like 95% of it is hidden in the vegetation, you could get away with it. And I guess we would have to just specify that.
Okay, can somebody make a motion to that effect?
I would make a motion to approve the fence as submitted, except that there is the outside corner where Beachgrass Road and Ironwood, that corner would be inset the same amount that there's the jog of the, where it says the 27.4 4 feet, as to facilitate a mostly screened fence. And I'm happy to do an Exhibit A of that.
All right, terrific. Okay, on Angus's motion, Connie,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Angus on your motion,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you, Dinah.
Next one.
Thank you. And if you, the next application is the neighboring building.
That's 4 Honeysuckle?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd be happy to start with that one.
You ready to start?
Sure. I would make the same motion, is to set that part that goes along Ironwood back with the, where it says 34.83, that it would come back to there for additional screening.
Okay.
Yeah, just till it gets over to the division, to the house to the southeast, or northeast.
Okay,
Number
let's-
6, I guess.
Can we hold that motion until I hear from Joe and Connie?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Joe? Okay.
I'm sorry. I agree with Angus's suggestion.
Thanks, Joe.
I'm good with that too.
Okay, I am as well. Could you repeat that motion?
Okay, so the motion would be to set back the 97.56-foot stretch of the 6-foot fence, the same distance as the 34.83 section of fence, to accommodate additional planting, so that at the most, there would be 10% of the fence visible. So, yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
And that would go along that whole stretch alongside Ironwood until it reaches the division between number 4 and 6.
All right, and that's Exhibit A.
And that would be an Exhibit A.
Did I take a motion on that? Did I get everybody? Connie, did you say yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay, we're good. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Dinah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everybody.
That's it for Honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle.
And we're on to 4 Westmore Lane.
Yes, yes, Madam Chair, I'm promoting the architect over the panelists.
All right, for Westmore Lane was a view, 400 square foot addition.
Mr. Chair, if I can just ask, John, are you going to screen share? John?
Shall I start?
I'm sorry, 1 second, John. Do we have a butters here on this?
Not that I'm
Wanna
aware
go?
of. Oh, actually, Rick Sears actually is a butter. He's online as well.
Just want to make sure I'm right there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we had requested modifications. John, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you changed?
Okay, we've compressed the overall height, and we've simplified the design a bit. I wanted to make a clarification from last time about the site, and the site extends to Cliff Road here to the north, and Westmore Lane is an access easement over the property. So the garage with its proposed second-story addition is 50 feet away from Cliff Road there. Here are the pictures we provided last time, and some additional pictures we provided this time for context of opposite the garage and the main house. On the south elevation shows the reduced heights, which I'm going to go into detail in a minute on. The north elevation, we provided a larger window and trellisry to activate that facade more. On the west elevation, we removed the deck and simplified the fenestration a bit in the dormer. We did add this canopy over the door to provide a little protection at the apartment entry from that the prior deck served. The height reduction, we were able to compress the overall height by 9 inches, and the dormer eave height by 10 inches. Just for some clarity over some of the points reviewed last time, the eave is raised by 3.5 feet, slightly over 3.5 feet. The main roof eave and the dormer eave is 6'1.5" higher than the existing eave. And the ridge, the new proposed ridge is 4'5" higher than the existing garage eave. We
On that, your start wrapping it up signal.
okay. Oh, sorry. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about the bay window. We retained it. It was an important elbow room in the tight space. This is the these are the view posts to see the height change. And then we looked at some other cantilevered bay windows in the area. This one on Cliff Road at 33, this one at 108. And we went with simpler detailing to match our subject property and try to make it, no corner board, no bottom rail like this one in order to make it recede more. And we feel that the pergola sort of gives it a little bit of grounding. So those were our changes.
Okay, thanks, John. Before we take comments from the butter, does anyone have any questions for John? Okay. Rick? Are you bringing him over? Or?
No, it's just, I said, well,
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Rick.
Okay, sorry. First of all, I just want to say, I'm so glad you guys put the poll up or whatever that is technically speaking called, because it really gives you a chance to understand the scale of this. So that pole can be seen from the Cliff Road bike path between 94 and 98 Cliff Road, which according to Google Maps is 175 yards away. So there'll be an entire ridge line that can be seen. And I think the reason for that is because, as Mr. McLeod mentioned in your initial review, is that because most of the surrounding structures are 1-story and simple. And so I think even with these revisions, it still doesn't fit. Doesn't fit for 104 Cliff, doesn't fit for the applicant's own cottage, and it doesn't fit with the adjacent cottage at 104B Cliff. The poll also confirmed that the Sears Humble Cottage would lose sight of the sky when standing in parts of the house, and I don't think that's probably your problem to solve. But if that's how we build around Humble cottages, we won't have any left, and we'll just have large homes. And then I don't really know how to express this, but the dormers run 70% of the length of the structure. So in essence, on two sides of this, it's going to be 6 feet taller than the building, or 6 feet 1.5 inches taller. And all that mass is just 50 feet from the intersection of Cliff Road and Westmore Lane. So it's going to be really, really vertical. And it's also, just want to be clear, it's pretty close to the street for out here. That structure is 10 feet from Westmore Lane. And I know there was a reference to Westmore Lane by the applicant's representative tonight, but Westmore Lane is not just an easement. It is a real street, and just come by anytime in the summer and you'll know, because the traffic up to the club is pretty amazing. Regardless on how you decide on the actual scope of the structure, the compressor that is located on the north side of the building, that building sits 3 feet from the easement line and 3 feet from the split rail fence that shows the easement, where the easement starts. And I don't think it can be fit in there and still be screened. So not only will there'll be no screening from the Sears property, but there'll be no screening for people coming up Westmore Lane. It'll be super visible. So I would really like you guys to consider moving that to the north side of the property. And just to say, the applicant has also put the electric meter there. Perhaps that could go somewhere less obtrusive. And so I think, it's still pretty rural out here. We got a dirt road across the street. We got Tuppency a few hundred yards away. We're surrounded by Westmore Farms. And if the applicant really wants to have a rental cottage, which is his stated purpose, he could build a ground floor apartment within the current building envelope. And in doing so, remain consistent with the surrounding structures and not have a busy, complicated, very vertical structure. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. All right, who'd like to begin?
I can.
Ray.
So I still think that what I'll call the front, which would be where the garage doors are, is very, very heavy in terms of ornamentation. The bay window, the little pergola at the garage doors, which really need to have vertically formatted panes if they're going to get, approved. Beyond that, though, I'm still, the 9-inch reduction in height, I think, aside from the fact that I can see the little blue lines that are telling me that it's 9 inches lower, I mean, they don't really, it doesn't seem like an appreciable change from the last time we saw it. And that issue, I feel like, is not great on the south and the north, the gable ends, but I feel like it's really exacerbated on the eve ends, where we have, as I described, another project that we were reviewing earlier in the evening, the eve end with the plate height so high just kind of creates this wall of shingle. And that's going to be what's facing sort of visible back to Cliff Road. So those are my issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Angus?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The elevations I had were just the new ones, and I'm not seeing the old ones with it. I was going to do the comparison of, but I can see them up on the screen. Yeah, so I appreciate the removal of the balcony. The bay window is just, I appreciate the examples that were brought forth, but those are on different scale architecture and different style architecture. So I feel like that's overdone on this. And then the dormers are still too much. It just makes the volume and the height show more because they're flush dormers and they're as wide as they are. So those are still the concerns I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
Well, I'm not on this one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. Joe?
I agree with everything that's been said. I say that with a little bit of hesitation because I think that there's probably a solution that could get this bay element to work. It's quirky. I don't think it would be appropriate on any other property, but this existing the existing house is fairly eclectic. But this structure, I think, departs from that a little bit in that there's a lot of these, the lattice work and the pergola, so forth, maybe kind of busies this up a little bit. I think it would be, I'd love to see a foot come out of this at least, or 1.5 feet. I definitely appreciate the deck being removed on the elevation that faces the lane. And I think the north elevation is an improvement, but that's the elevation that's going to get a lot of visibility. I mean, the lattice work helps, and I don't know if there's a plan for a fence that's going to go back there, but that elevation is concerning because it's really where you're going to read the most height on this. And I think that the utility elements there should be screened, and maybe it's part of a landscape / fence application that we need to be looking at alongside this. And I think that the dormers could come down and that the main ridge could come down together. I'm okay with the dormer width, but I think some of these plate heights could be finessed a little bit. You'd lose a quick foot, I think, at least. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Connie?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's too tall, it's too fussy. And I'm having a real hard time with the drawings that we have, figuring out what's new, what, it looks like everything's bubbled, but it's, the balcony's still here, so I was a little bit confused when I was trying to review this. Thank you.
Thanks. John, I think that it's just too tall for the structure, for the location, given the context, and a large part of that relates to the breadth of the dormer space and the fenestration, creating a perception of even a taller space, which is what Ray pointed out, at least on the, I think it's the east side, that last comment. And I'm trying to figure out where the height is in this structure. I mean, you've got standard height doors, and it's just basically a 22-foot tall structure. Something seems off to me. I'm not quite sure what it is. Either the dimension is a little rich, and I don't know. I mean, I presume this scales out at roughly 21 feet tall, but it doesn't read that way to me unless these are oversized windows and doors, and they're not on the window schedule.
Right. The ceiling height in the garage is 8 feet. We've reduced the garage door from 8-foot door to a 7-foot door, and the clearance at the low eave, the main eave, is as tight as we can, and for the headroom for the stairs. And, it was an important goal to keep the stairs inside the volume, which is also the reason why we aren't changing the footprint, and the plan isn't very large, and that's why we like the bay window. But,
And I guess the other thing, couple other things. One, the north elevation, that window is just very atypical and inappropriate, inappropriately so, where it's located, in terms of its height in the gable. And then what is this proposed as? This is a cottage? So under Massachusetts building code, you're required to have two doors. You're using one through the garage, is I guess what you're proposing? Just trying to figure out
we
have another set of stairs somewhere that I don't see.
We lost the door on the deck. Oh well. So that we did add the door through the garage and
Gotcha. Okay, I mean, so you meet the code requirement. I just think, I think this was mentioned earlier. I think you'd be better served. You're not getting support for the height. You've indicated that you've cut it to the bone. I think if this comes back, I would want to see a cross section of the structure and with, all the dimensions on it. And I suggest that you guys look at, I think given the location and the concerns with the height, that you look at a basement build out and a first floor with a loft in the existing space. And I'm not talking about the AGC weighing on the uses. I'm talking about the context under which there may be a programmatic solution to address the height, which is to go down, not up. Make sense?
Yeah.
Surprisingly for me at this hour, I can get that to come out in a way that okay. So, is there anyone who wants to talk about this some more, or are we looking for a motion for revisions? And, John, I want to point out, the HCC has a best practices policy whereby, and this is informational, it's a point not to be pointed, it's to make the point not to be pointed. 3 attempts to make material changes to a design in the event, and I'm not suggesting this would happen, but in the event of a denial and there aren't material changes at the 3rd hearing, there is it's a with prejudice type of an effect, and there's a delay of, I think it's 2 years. Yeah. So, there's a lot of authority and a lot of power vested in that. So we want to make sure if I remember that all correctly, I just want you to be aware of it, all right?
Okay.
Okay. All right, all said, I think we're ready for a motion.
So moved. Motion for
Motion for
revision, sorry.
Okay, on Ray's, motions for approval of revisions. We'll go with Angus.
Approval of revisions?
Yeah,
No.
he's
no,
approving that we make
wait,
revisions.
I'm voting in favor of holding for revisions.
Yes, that's what we're doing. Ray, on your motion? Aye. Connie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Did I get all 5 of us? Yeah, I did. Yeah. Sorry, I'm fading fast. All right, we're gonna move on to 6 Lily Street.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm not on any more applications.
Good for you.
I'm gonna go home and.
Is it Taco Tuesday?
I'm gonna go home and tune into this, the rest of this broadcast.
Riveting show.
Lisa, make some extra popcorn if you're there. Just maybe some chicken pop for Ray. All right.
Good night.
Good
Night, Ray.
evening. Enjoy your time off. You've earned it. 6 Lily Street, Sconset, Matt.
Okay, if you're.
Oh, God. That
Yeah,
felt.
let me, I don't know who that is, but let's move before they say something. I'll talk through them. Your board, Matt, is Welch, Camp, McLeod, Thornwell, Patton. And Joe's an alternate should he be needed in the future. Val would be too, but she'd have to mullen in, sorry.
It's a mulligan. We all need a mulligan.
I need to be at the course. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you've seen this a few times before. Actually, at our last meeting, I thought we were right there because we had made a series of changes to the structure, making some reductions to the overall width, and specifically the overall length of the structure, and then also taking where the kitchen is and pushing that mass back by about 3.5 feet. I know that there was some lingering questions about the proximity to the street and the size and the scale of the addition. So it provided some supplementary information to start. So let's like to run through that quickly and then just show you the revisions that we've made, which are even further than what you've requested previously, and hopefully address Angus's concerns. So I just wanted to start with this image here. This shows essentially like a before and after street view. Shows the existing structure on the left and the garage on the right, where we've demolished the hatched pattern of the garage, and then we're showing in the lower image the addition. So in terms of the streetscape, the overall amount of exposed frontage is similar. We are increasing it slightly, but not dramatically. We've also got some aerials that I thought were helpful, because what we did is we went through and we took all of the surveys from all the adjacent properties just to see where the structure sat in terms of relationship to the front of the property. So just to start off, we've got this aerial image that just shows 6 and 8 Lily Street. So 6 and 8 Lily are 2 separate properties. They are actually now officially merged. By the way, Kevin Dale is here on behalf of the owners as well, and Kevin has just merged the two parcels officially. So one thing that's relevant about that is that if these were two separate lots and they're to be developed separately, you'd probably have a higher density in terms of development. So the good news here is this is a single owner. This is not a rental. It's not a spec. And I just wanted to point that out. I thought these aerial shots were helpful because they really show the size and scale of the neighborhood and the context, which we all agree is special. We're all huge fans of the Underhill cottages. And then I thought this one was relevant. Basically, what we did is, again, we've got all the surveys that show the distance from the property line. So on the north side of Lily, the average setback, again, that's from property line to the front of the building, trying really quickly, Mr. Chair, is 10'9". On the south side, it's 13'6". With the most recent revisions where we've pulled the building back as far as we possibly can, we are just, the average for the street is 12 feet, and so we are 12'6", so we're about 6 inches under the average, for what it's worth. We also had the entire street 3D scanned, which I think is helpful. So all of the buildings that are on the street were 3D scanned, and then we superimposed the proposed design. And so the upper image shows the entire street, Lily Street. The lower image shows a concentrated area of 6, 8, 10, and 4, I believe. And I just think what this demonstrates is, you know, again, the vegetation, those trees are incredible. I really had no idea they were that large, but they are. Those are actual scans. And I also think what this demonstrates is that this structure with the proposal does not stick out any more than any of the other structures, does not present itself as any larger than any other structure on the street. Again, we included all the surveys of the adjacent properties just for reference.
Thank you, Matt.
I just want to go through the changes really quickly because there are some changes that we made. The most significant is that we pushed the building back 3'6" from the property line. So you can see we shifted it all the way back to the rear setback. We took a foot out of the overall width. And I think that's the majority of the changes. Oh, sorry, one final thing, Angus, you had mentioned pushing the chimney inside the building, which we did, which is on the rear of the property. So
Right.
with that, it's also geothermal, so there's no outside condensers. And like I said, I consider our clients stewards of the Underhill cottages that worked on other, that actually owned other properties on the street. And so this is something that's important to us, and we treat it with great respect. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Matt. Questions for Matt? I didn't see in Holly's comments, but if we do, oh, she did, okay. Yeah, this is gonna need a historic determination if there's modifications to the structure.
Mr. Chair, you have a hand raised.
We have a hand raised. Hi, Sarah, good evening.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sarah Alger. Just quickly, I represent Judith Ivy and Tim Brain, who are the abutters immediately to the west of this project. And unlike the last time they were before you with changes to the garage, my clients have no concerns at all about this dwelling. They appreciate what's been done to it. They appreciate the elimination of the 81L, which was done through the planning board. And their only hope is that when the garage's work is done, that it's taken off their property and moved wholly within 6 and 8 Lily. But otherwise, no concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate the information. Let's see, myself, Abby, Angus, Carrie, and Connie, and as I said, Joe, if needed in the future as an alternate. Who would like to begin concerns, please, if any?
I can start if you
Abby?
want. So I went out there today because I just, just to clarify how I felt about it. And I've always thought that the right-hand addition just didn't relate to the historic main mass. The details that are missing are the deep overhanging eaves and the deep porch. And if two things were to happen to this, I would appreciate it. One is that right-hand addition moves back further and just incorporates something of the detail of that main historic mass. And I was looking at that west side, and it definitely looks like it could take an addition. I mean, I don't know where else you would put it, because it is a tight lot. I'm not saying you can't add to this. I'm just saying I'd like to see it done a little more sensitively to the historic structure. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Let's see, Connie.
I keep studying this and, you know, have seen it, and I think, yeah, I appreciate the revisions. I agree with what Abby is saying, but I think, personally, I think it's close. And, you know, I'm grateful that I do believe that you're trying to preserve and honor the historic, you know, fabric of these Underhill cottages. So thank you.
Thanks. Let's see. I guess.
No, not yet. I can go ahead, sure. So on the front elevation, the north elevation, what's existing there now is a 3/3, which is typical of the low, very low eaves. I believe that's what's there. I'm seeing existing, and it's showing a 6/6, but it's a 3/3. And the eave covers the head casing, which is just quintessential eave forward for the Underhills. So I've mentioned this before, but looking over to the addition, there are 3 mold windows. The head casings are higher than that other side, and they're 6/6 and they're mold. So to have this, to Abby's point, I think an addition is certainly possible, but it's just, the Underhills are so nuanced that it's easy to go off track a bit. And so to make that work, it would want to get that west addition would want to get stepped back from the main mass to articulate the main mass and lower the eave and eliminate the mold windows. Going over to the west elevation, it would be the elimination of that gable roof, which is uncharacteristic of the Underhills. On the south, I appreciate the inset of the chimney. Pretty much all of the Underhill chimneys are in the main mass, but being inset helps. And then, of course, the moving of the structure. I appreciate all the additional information. But if you do a parallel line on the aerial view that shows where the houses are, they pretty much all have the same, distance from the street for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Maybe a slight variation till you get to 12, but the moving forward just changes the streetscape and how the buildings relate to each other. And I think the overall the amount of square footage that's added to this in proportion to what is existing is, even though there's been a foot removed from the west side, just feels like it fills the lot, but the main issues are what's visible from the street. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Angus. Gary?
Yeah, I think a lot of these, I think the overall site plan is really helpful because it seems to me that some of the surrounding buildings have also been added to because they didn't start out that big. So I appreciate the fact that the garage is being reduced and then that square footage is being added to the house. I do think that the one thing for me is I would love to see it sit where it is, and the addition, that western addition, just set back from that existing two-story piece. So the corner of that is sort of available still. It's only, just shifting a couple feet on that west elevation would do it. The fact that it's sort of flush right now and that corner board gets lost somehow is annoying to me. But other than that, I think you've actually done a really good job to retain the existing dwelling. The details don't bother me so much because the details on each piece of the existing dwelling are different. So that seems appropriate to me. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Matt, as you know, other than the initial height of the top plate of the addition, I think the vocabulary is consistent overall in terms of massing. I think the details are in keeping with the Secretary of Interior standards, that you're not mimicking the exactness of every detail of a structure because you want to be able to differentiate the historic structure from the additions, something we don't often do. And I think it's approvable as it is. So I mean, I understand the other comments, but I don't believe that they rise to the level of requiring modifications. If you drove by this thing with the changes that are proposed as shown in the renderings, it's indistinguishable as an Underhill cottage in my mind and experience. But I am not, we're all here for a very important reason. We all have our own opinions, and we need to, your job is to make something happen with the next one. It sounds like.
We're trying, if I could, Mr. Chair, just, we have been making changes. So like the most recent changes, we reduced the overall width by a foot, but prior to that, I think we've taken close to 2 feet out of the width. We've shifted the whole structure back as far as it possibly can go.
Yeah, and I haven't brought up the three meetings material because you are making material changes through the process.
We really are.
As a cumulative effect, I believe it qualifies, so.
Appreciate that. The other thing I was gonna say, if I could, just Abby, we did take that addition and shift it back fairly dramatically. It kind of goofed up our kitchen, or it was a pretty big change for us. So we actually have taken that secondary section and shifted it back dramatically, is one. And two, what I'd love to do is try to drill down on the specific things that we could do. So Angus, we can look at those triple ganged windows above the kitchen. We can look at the pent roof. We did do a pent roof similar, almost identical to this at 5 Evelyn Street. It looks really good if you want to go look at it. But if it's a real sticking point, we can take that. We can look at ways to adjust that. But in terms of program, this is a 1-bedroom cottage. It's 1 bedroom. All of our bedrooms, the 3 other bedrooms are in the basement. And I would also just say in terms of its proximity to the street, I think we can provide more data to this point, that where the facade of this building is now in relationship to all the structures on this side of the street, never mind the other side of Lily. Lily, they're all on average about 10 feet. They're closer on average. On this side of the street, they're a little bit further back, but we'll probably be within like 12 inches of the other homes, which I think for all intents and purposes, is completely approvable.
And I also just want to get some clarification, when we're saying push it back further, can someone articulate that in the floor plan for me? So can
I
we go
think-
to A101, 2436?
The two-story mass, the existing two-story mass.
Sorry, hold on, Carrie, just a sec. Can you zoom out a little bit, Fiona?
That's me.
Oh, Matt?
One other point, if I could, Mr. Chair, which I forgot to mention, and this is Angus or Carrie, or both, is we actually took a foot out of the overall depth of the building so that we could push it even further back.
I was just hoping that the kitchen piece could shift back enough, maybe a foot or two, just to give that existing corner a breath. So that reads as a separate element before the addition.
Carrie,
So,
I'm sorry, I missed that. Can you repeat that?
it's just the existing building has a two-story mass. And that, as it stands now, comes down to the ground. You're adding to it. And I was just saying, I'd love the addition to pull back from that two-story mass to let the corner be the corner. It's hard to tell in the plan, but as I see it in the elevation,
If you look in the west.
on that front elevation, yep. Oh, gosh, it keeps moving.
That's me.
I'm like, I can't, I'm going dizzy. Yeah, is that instead of having the roof come of the addition, that eave line come proud of that corner board, shift that whole wall back just a foot, 18 inches, something to allow for that corner to come down and
Next one over.
This one. I understand through you, Mr.
Can
Chair,
you get it?
what Carrie's suggesting.
It's the tiniest thing, but I think it would make a huge difference to the existing conditions and then the addition.
If, just to, through you, Mr. Chair, the
Yeah,
reason
go
I was
ahead.
questioning that is that we've already pushed that back by about 3 feet, but you're asking us to push it back by another like foot or 18 inches.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand why, I'm still not processing.
I think I can get it here. Hold on.
It's to respect the existing structure.
No, I understand that, Carrie, but I'm not,
She's
okay,
suggesting-
this is what I'm looking for.
She's suggesting pull this back.
Yeah, just shift it back 18 inches, just shy of the corner.
But Matt, what I'm having a problem with is when I look at the floor plan, it's already shifted back significantly.
It is, you're correct.
That, it doesn't line up with that corner of the second story mass. The second story mass is a stairway, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Actually,
so-
no, the one story, the stairwell is in this one story existing mass.
Which section here?
This one right here. That's where the stair is.
I gotcha, okay, because I'm looking at this in plan and I'm reading
They
that
do, they align.
second story element is the stairs and I'm seeing a jog and I don't understand, okay, now I understand I understood Carrie's point, but I didn't understand how the plan related to the elevations.
Could I make a motion suggestion?
Hold on one moment, please, I want to
Yeah.
understand
Yeah,
this
yeah,
before we
fine.
move on.
Go
We
ahead.
spent like an hour redesigning 85 Vessel Street, I just want to make sure I understand before we move on. Thank you. And then Matt, can you go back to the elevation that shows the, okay, so the stair is in the shed roof, that's actually a shed roof.
That's existing, yeah.
Okay.
I think Carrie's suggesting take this gable mass and pull it back so that this corner board can expose, show itself, which, again, we did already reduce the kitchen to shift that whole section back, but if we're close and these are the things we need to focus on. then that's
Well,
what we'll
yeah,
do.
why don't you see what you can shift it and see if it's enough to make a difference?
If I could also ask, or just one other small point, and this is to Angus, is that this west elevation, the door, the mudroom door, this pent roof, which we have done, again, it's on 5 Evelyn, which we did, which I thought came out great, or authentic. That pent roof actually hides It's essentially like a flush face gable of sorts to get a 6/8 door in there, because that eave is so low.
That's like an element that I'm gonna vote no on if that's not there, just so you know.
Okay.
It helps to make and define this in a way that's consistent with the historic college.
That's the door that they use.
Okay,
Can I,
thank you. Ed,
can I address that? Yeah, so what was done over on Evelyn Street was out of character, so it's a little bit grating on my nerves every time I drive by it. I'm working on another project across from it, and it's just like, yeah, so none of the underhills had that detail, and so to see it on Evelyn Street is bad enough, but to do it again would not work in my mind.
So we have some points of contention amongst the.
Yeah, I'll try to navigate it.
The fact of the matter is that the eave overhang is consistent with other elements. It reads as similar vocabulary, whether it was on a structure before or not, it still reads similarly. So Abby was gonna make a motion. I appreciate your indulgence in letting me get kind of clarified on what I needed to get clarified. Do you want to make a motion?
Sure. Just motion to hold for some revisions.
I think I'm gonna focus, and I might reach out to some of you individually if that's okay,
Yeah,
to get clarity, if that's helpful.
Just,
that's
if
fine.
Matt reaches out to you, I checked that with, on open meeting law, and there's, as long as you're,
Two.
yeah, as long as we're not talking amongst ourselves, and if you feel the need to disclose that you had a discussion, you can have that. It's not, as a legal matter, it is not I'm not gonna get any deeper into that. It's not, I checked on open meeting law, it's not a violation, so. You just can't be committing, you're getting information from someone. You're not saying, oh, I think that's wonderful, you should do this, you should do that. That's for the public hearing process.
Correct.
If somebody wants to reach out to you and explain it, and then you bring it back to the meeting, there's no issue with that. So Matt, you're good, we made a motion, we need to vote on it. On Abby's motion, Abby.
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Ani,
Aye.
Angus.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Now we're on to 28 Pine Street. And I'm gonna need a Snickers pretty soon.
Me too.
This one should be quick.
Just like in the commercial.
Okay, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'll begin.
Please.
So this is a project you've seen a few times before as well. It's some minor additions to 28 Pine Street. I think at the last meeting, the two primary issues you wanted me to focus on were on the west elevation, revising, you had a shed as a bay. I forget who actually suggested it, but it was, the suggestion was to make it look like a more traditional bay. We changed that roof line to a hip. And then the other point of contention was this dormer on Farmer Street, which is the north elevation. So we've got this thing down to like the bare minimum in terms of like the height. We did do a cross section to show you what we're dealing with. That dashed orange line is a 6/8 line, which is relevant for bathroom and plumbing fixtures. So we're really pushing the envelope as much as we possibly can. The other element that's contributing to this, which may not have been clear, is that the floor steps up. You can see that we've indicated this dash blue line indicates the second floor level. And in this section of the house, it actually steps up by about a foot. So that's one of the things we've been contending with. And, you know, it's a family, they're growing, they're becoming teenagers, going to college, and they just need more space. So they're trying to get an extra bathroom there. So with that, look forward to coming to the board, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt?
Mr. Chair, would you like to know your board? It's not listed.
Well, I saw it in here in the minutes.
Okay, I can still,
So the board is, according to the minutes, myself, Abby, it's basically gonna be myself, Abby, Val's not here, Angus, Carrie, and either Connie or Joe, and since Connie just went, Joe, right? All right, so that's your board, and does anyone have any questions for Matt? Did I ask that? All right, who would like to begin?
concerns, succinct? It's getting late. Let's move
Stephen?
along.
Oh,
Stephen,
Yeah. Oh, hey, Mickey, go ahead.
thank you. Okay,
Thanks for
so,
sticking it out.
the the bay window, the hipped bay window in the front is very much out of character with the existing house. A much smaller bay with a shed roof and offset from the side may be appropriate if properly scaled. The side dormer should remain as a shed dormer. The gable dormer is too large a volume for that location. I know they're trying to get head height for a bathroom, but they don't have to come out of the building to do that. They can steal some space from the bedroom inside the and I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Who'd like to go? Abby.
so the only thing that jumps out at me, and I'm just looking at the front facade here, on faces Pine Street, is that hip conical roof. I think it takes away from the historic main mass, but I don't know how to fix it. So that's my only, I think the sides you've just made them livable in a very tiny old house. So I'm going to say that's my only objection. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Joe?
I guess regarding the side view, I've gone back and forth on the shed dormer versus the gable, and I think I've landed on the gable, feeling like it offers some balance on that side, versus the side by side shed dormers. So I'm okay with that, and I like the fenestration changes on the west elevation as they wrap the corner. And I could see that being a slightly shallower hip, or even going back to a shed roof on that Pine Street facade. So I think either one could work. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Angus?
Yeah, pushing that shed dormer back on the north side, and reducing the scale of it would fit better. But my main concern is that front addition on Pine Street. A bay window isn't an appropriate addition. Not a bay window, but an addition, a wart on the front of this style structure. And a bay window would probably be more appropriate, but definitely a smaller scale, not a room. And I think Holly had the same comment about just the scale of it being room size as opposed to a more of a window seat kind of smaller scale. Thank you.
Thanks. And I just want to clarify, Connie is on this, so we have a full 5-member board. So Connie, please.
Yeah, I appreciate the changes, and I'm okay with this. I think you did a good job, like they said, on a very, small structure to add some extra space. Thank you.
Thank you. That gable, second floor gable dormer is really the most vexing part of this for me. I do want to go back to the, I had talked about hip roof, thinking more of a less warty, more bay effect. But this structure is not a straightforward structure in any way. I mean, it is such a hodgepodge to begin with, that even the least complicated facade is the Pine Street facade, but only that section of it that is closest to Pine Street. As soon as you actually open your eyes to the left, you're like assaulted with the volume and the different roof shapes and so on and so forth. So to me, I would actually like to see, and when I say like, I mean, I think it would be appropriate, given the circumstances of the particular structure, if there was some way to create more of a focal point of that triple windowed hip roof structure, because it actually gives you something to look at on that structure as like, well, it's a focal point, is what I was saying. The flush face, what I call a 3/4 story second floor, which is a flush face dormer, and the high ceiling there on the first floor. None of this reads as a typical Nantucket historic home. So I guess that's a long way of saying that I'm actually okay with it as it's proposed. I think there is some room for improvements. I don't know that that level of nitpicking on my part would make a difference, nor do I know that it would get the support of the other members, so I'm not gonna go into it.
I think I actually get some good feedback. I think the bay itself, we tried the hip because it was a suggestion from the board, but I think maybe exploring the shed, almost a hybrid, if you will. So I'm happy to make revisions, come back to you with revisions.
Just along those lines, and then Abby, you know, Matt, a bay window approach to the roof system without downsizing that area much may be more successful.
Yeah.
You know, you're basically taking the corners off, and you're gonna have a partial shed, and then you're gonna clip the corners. So, you know, if you have like a typical bay roof assembly, that may be successsul. And that might be the subtle element to bring more focus there without it being slapping you in the face.
Tie it all together.
Yeah, Abby?
Yeah, I agree that I was even thinking a bay window that didn't go down to the ground, that it was just a small bump out. But as you were talking, I was thinking,
You really wanna go home?
no, yes, I really do. But I was thinking about what you were saying about, okay, so here's a really stupid idea. What if you brought out the whole front of it and made a sun porch, and you entered through a sun porch to the old structure? That way you don't get this push and pull and this asymmetry. You go back to something that they did do. They did put sun porches on the front of their roof, and it might give it back some of its symmetry.
No, I think that's kind of an intriguing idea. I just want to add to it, Matt. I mean, if you're going to do some studies, you might take this concept of the hip roof and extend it with a more shallow porch area that kind of wraps around a little bit. And then what you've done is you've taken this element that's there now. The front door is not, I mean, it's behind this, if it's a covered porch, but the covered porch wraps around and it starts to integrate that element across the front. And all of a sudden, the front facade, the pine tree facade, ties into the structure on the left, which is a shed roof. So I don't know, I think it sounds like you've got some room to work that may integrate create better flow. So God bless you if you can do it.
Okay.
All right, can we get a motion to hold for revisions?
Thank you.
So moved.
All right, on your motion,
Aye.
Angus?
Aye.
Connie?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Thanks, Matt. 8 Massachusetts Ave. Tori's here. This is the last one, folks, and then we can go home and have some dinner.
Good evening, everyone.
Tori.
Good
Unless
evening,
you
everyone.
brought something.
I should have. I thought we were gonna get pizza.
I thought so too. That's all right. For sorry, I wasn't picking up the phone.
Oh.
Tori, when you're ready, we're ready. We're
Sure.
more than ready.
So per our last conversation, we felt that, the majority felt that it was in keeping with the Nantucket vernacular, There were some suggestions to go around the neighborhood, look for maybe some porch detail, and to change the roof lines maybe a little bit to mitigate the comparison to similar boathouses in the area. So we've taken the one side and made it a salt box style, I can't even speak either, salt box style roof to the, I guess it faces the east at the bottom of that roof. We've added a little bit of a porch detail, the only place we really could, to the right in front of the single-story door. We've added some shutters to match the main house, and the rounded corners on the garage boathouse doors match the main house garage doors as well. You can see that in the photos that are included. And with that, I look forward to your comments.
Thank you. Any questions for Tori? Excuse me.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this on the other side of the street from the main house?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
yep, they own 8 and 9, and this is on 8, and
Gotcha.
9 is across the street.
I,
And there's
I guess
pictures
I
of
have
it.
a question too when you're done.
Done, Andy?
Done.
Okay, Joe?
Okay. And this is a question of whether or not an overhang on the roof was intentional or if it's just a drawing thing. So on the east elevation, that eave line that's clouded, that's up on the screen, goes all the way across the full 30-foot width of the building. But it looks like the corner boards step in from that. So I'm curious if we should be seeing a break line in the roof, because when you look at the south elevation and that salt box form, there's no break at the juncture of, I'll call it the main gable, and that piece on the right. And so it reads like that rake board is just continuous, and then the shingles are back. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself well,
Yeah.
but
Joe, can I try, just to see it, so if you look
yeah,
at
please.
if you look at the south elevation and you look at the two-story mast, there's a corner board on the right. And from that corner board, you go further to the right to the one-story mast, and there's another corner board. That roof has to be an overhang because it's not reflected in the east elevation, correct? Is that what you're? Or is that another drafting issue?
I have a question for
Hold on one second, I just want to make sure we're clear on what we're. Tori, is there a plan view in this?
Site plan view? There's not a roof plan.
floor plan.
Yes, there is floor plans. I do think these are drafting errors that you guys are describing.
Oh, and I actually may be looking at a difference of the drawings than Joe is. I don't see the floor plan, where is it?
I have my computer if you need me to share.
No, it would help.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead. I didn't mean to make it more confusing. I thought I was identifying something. I realized I'm actually looking
Really?
at maybe another set of drawings in the packet.
No, I think you were describing what I was describing as well. I assumed it was a drawing error, but I just wanted to make sure that the salt box form is actually broken when you look at it where the doors are, that you actually read a gable then with this wedge-shaped addition to the right of it. And I didn't see floor plans, so it was hard to tell.
Yeah, because otherwise what happens here, Tori, is if you're looking at the east elevation, well, let's say you're looking at the south elevation, there's the 1.25 story structure to the far right of the 2-story structure is set back a couple of feet from the 2-story structure, but the roof above it is not. So you have this kind of an odd space covered by a roof that's ground, that's soffitted. So basically, what we're saying is, you see how this is, there's a rebate here and here,
Well, this is basically where the roof, where the face of this structure is here, is here. So
Yeah,
this has a roof that overhangs,
Mhm.
that this roof doesn't overhang this face, so it's very an odd.
I think it's a drawing error.
Well, no, what has to happen is, Tori, to fix it, and I think it's really important that we're looking at this, is the east elevation, the roof line needs either as Joe had suggested, the east elevation, the single-story mass with the two sets of windows needs to go left and right the full width, or the roof needs to be cut back a section of roof on each side, which is going to be a very odd.
Yeah, why not, why
Detail.
do you have to have that? Why can't you just have it go flat to the, straight to
Do
the
you have
corner?
ground coverage to go full left and right
Yes.
on the east?
Like as it's drawn right there, or
Mhm.
differently?
Do you, on the east elevation,
Yep.
this basically, this roof line has to come in,
Mm-hmm.
and it would have to go up. Well, let's do the south. It would have to come in here. There'd be a break in the roof line here, and what it would look like is it would come over and it would come down. And that's gonna look very odd because there isn't a break in the roof pitch.
Got it.
And before we go too far on that, it's probably worth saying that, at least as far as I'm concerned, I think the previous submission was superior to this one relative to the massing. So I actually like the old one, the way it was broken up and a little bit more eclectic versus this more sweeping move. I might be in the minority, but it feels more additive, the previous submission. And I actually thought that it was a decent proposal previously with some maybe details that needed to be looked at, but I personally feel like this went in the wrong direction.
Thanks, Joe. Do you have any other comment? We might as well just go with your comments if you've got any.
No, those are my only comments. I think the massing, particularly on the north elevation, just feels more like it's an expression of something that would have happened over time versus what we're looking at today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joe. I happen to agree with you, by the way. Abby?
So I've got two things that are bugging me. One is, and I don't think you have, just because they're on the other side of the street and it's the main house, I don't think you have to have the rounded corners. I think it's making it a little corny.
Okay.
I think the pent roof over that middle garage door, we don't really need it. Keep it simple. I think if we strip away some of these little anomalies, that you do have a kind of a quirky Nantucket feel. So, and then to Stephen's point, I would just make those corners as simple as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, Angus?
Yeah, I agree with Joe.
Yeah. And Connie, did you go?
Oh, no. Yeah, I have nothing else to add. I
Okay.
agree.
I think that the challenges that you face with this particular change are insurmountable, because what you will have to do is address the roof plane as shown on the east in such a way that the only way to have it work is to then increase the top plate of the rightmost wall shown in the south elevation in order to get a break line on the roof above where that addition meets the second story. And I don't know that any of that is gonna be, I agree with Joe's comments, and I think that this approach becomes more complicated, and certainly more complicated than it's worth when you make the changes to fix it. Aesthetically, you're gonna be, the original is gonna be more appropriate.
Got it.
Can I make one comment?
Yeah,
Additional
please.
comment, sorry. So on the current north elevation, the one that you proposed for today, I do think that the hip pent roof that goes over the garage door is more appropriate than the hip that you had previously. Did I say a shed roof that runs across that?
Yeah, that was
I think-
requested.
Yeah, so I think that works. And I also think that the shutters on I might be in the minority, but I think the shutters on that elevation do speak to the other structure. And I think that these doors, the garage doors, match on this, but I think one could be slightly different. There could be a hierarchy in height, and I think one of them could have the rounded corner, but the other one, presumably in the tertiary mass, that little wart that gets added to the main gable, that could be something different. One has glass, maybe one doesn't. But so I just wanted to say that I thought that there were elements of the north elevation, particularly around the central gable, that I thought were improvements over the previous application. And that's all. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll add that I agree with Joe, especially about the doors. I don't find having the arch on at least one of them, and I presume it would be the primary one, because if you're relating it to the house, that would be the one that was the garage first.
Okay,
So it makes sense that that one retains it, whereas the other one might have been built out with
Yeah,
squared angles or something.
got it.
2 seems like too much,
2 is too much.
but I'll make a motion to hold for a few revisions.
Can I add one thing
Oh,
to
yeah.
that? Just the curve of the doors in the original is from the side of the door all the way to the middle of the doors where they meet, as opposed to just the rounded corners. So if you are going to go with a curve, I
Oh,
would
okay.
do
Yep.
it truer to the
An arch.
original.
Yeah.
And just the broken of what was there seemed, yeah, much better.
All right, thank you, Angus. And with that, Abby's motion is to.
Motion to, yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry,
almost
I
2026,
thought I
guys.
made one. Motion to hold for a few revisions.
Okay, on your motion.
Aye.
Angus.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Connie.
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
And could I just confirm the next old business deadline goes?
Offline. Sorry, we want to get rolling.
I don't have it on my.
Yeah.
Did I say motion to, are we
Not-
doing minutes?
Not yet. I want, Kathy, will you add to our list? We got a couple pieces of business to address. One, approved minutes of October 28th, 2025. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
It'll be the 4 sitting here, just so we do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? I'll be a no for consistency.
I'm going to be a no as well, because I didn't get to them.
And I'm going to bring Joe in on this.
I'm an aye.
We have a 5-person board. And Joe, you're a?
Aye.
Okay, so it's a 3-2. Will you please add 3D renderings and walkthroughs, Kathy, to our other business list?
And what's the update on the fence
3D
guidelines?
renderings and walkthroughs. And I'm sorry, what?
So what's the update on the fence guidelines?
The deer
fences
fence?
are out of control.
Yeah, I think, I have a suggestion for one. I have to remember where it is, and I can give you an example, and I suggest we could just all do a view, and then we could vote on it. We don't need a work group.
There's one I see every single day.
The motion to adjourn.
And now we're gonna get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. We'll just go with those present.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Tori, do you want this
You mounted.
plan?
Hey, have a good night.
What did Diane used to say? You mounted.
Oh, unanimous.
Unanimous, that was it. I don't know, I couldn't get the words out.
You're welcome. Good luck. That's a fun project.